Press star 5 to speak. Again, the number is 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak. Now, across the Kenyan diaspora, the 2027 election debate is already heating up. President Ruto is unveiling a vision beyond 2030, while Sifuna Mania is dominating political conversation. But are diasporans seeing the same reality as voters on the ground? Joining us shortly is guest host Ruth Kilungu, bringing a fresh perspective from Kenya beyond social media. And the big question tonight is, are big rallies, viral clips, and online excitement real signs of electoral power, or is the diaspora misreading 2027? We'll examine the Sifuna wave, Gen Z politics, emerging coalitions, and diaspora voting. We'll also talk about the highly anticipated KNAA conference this September 17th to the 19th in Baltimore, Maryland. So keep it locked and start dropping your comments below and let us know where you're tuned in from, what city, what state, what country. I can see Stephen JJ is already tuned in. Karibu sana Stephen JJ, and thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to the OneMic Show. Let us know what city, what state you're tuned in from. Na bila kusahau, napokea mziki wetu toka DJ wetu Machachari, mleta habari DJ Moshfire, na tutadunda kule viwanjani na Mika Ojes nambari 7 mgongoni, akiletea habari za michezo. Moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawi. Kwetu wananiita mteule na wengine mniite mjukuu wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Si chagui, si kagui, na si bagui. Karibuni.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now, before we begin talking politics tonight, a quick announcement. The 2026 annual conference of the Kenyan Nurses Association of America is happening in Baltimore, Maryland from September 17th through the 19th. The 3-day event is being hosted at Sheraton Baltimore North Hotel, located at 903 Dulaney Valley Road in Towson, Maryland. Details on how you can register are going to be on your screen, and we're going to put them in the comments below. And there are also limited vendor and sponsorship opportunities available. For inquiries, please call the number 848-224-1201 or email info@kenyannursesUSA.org. So whether you're a nurse, a healthcare professional, a sponsor, a vendor, a student, or a community stakeholder, this is one landmark event that you don't want to miss this September. Now let's get into the conversation for tonight. Now, every election season, Kenyans in America gather on social media and WhatsApp groups to confidently explain who Kenya should elect. We celebrate viral speeches, condemn tribal voters, and sometimes declare a new political messiah without having to live under the government we recommend. But tonight, we want to ask an uncomfortable question. Are we seeing Kenya's 2027 election as truly as it looks on the ground, or are we interpreting it through an American political lens? Our guest tonight, Ruth Kilungu, is uniquely positioned to challenge us. Ruth previously joined us to explain why she returned to Kenya after years in the diaspora. She went back, lived among the people whose political choices we debate from abroad, and is currently visiting America with a perspective many of us simply do not have. Ruth will help us examine whether Edwin Sifuna is building a genuine national movement or merely dominating the internet. She'll also talk about whether the Gen Z anger has turned into voter registration. We're also going to discuss whether tribal politics is disappearing or only changing form, and why huge rallies, viral clips, and passionate crowds do not always become votes. We'll then ask whether diasporans understand the survival calculations behind Kenyan voting, or if we are projecting an Obama story onto a system built under different realities. So without much further ado, ladies and gentlemen, type Karibu in the comment section below and help me in welcoming our returning guest, Ruth Kilungu. Ruth, Karibu sana to the OneMic Show. Tell us why you're back again in the US, because you relocated to Kenya, you're here recently, and now we see you again. Ni kama umetumiss sana. So talk to us, Ruth. Karibu.
First of all, thank you so much for the welcome. I've missed you guys a lot, actually. And that's why I'm back in the studio. But before I go on, can I wish Black Pearl a happy birthday?
Okay. So
yeah, because it's her birthday today.
Okay.
So is this the part where we sing?
You should.
Oh,
But like Black Pearl, happy birthday. But yeah, I'm in finance, and so every finance person knows, especially if you have the fiscal year schedule, like the July to June. June, July is quite a bit busy trying to make sure that, everything is in. You're doing budgeting. Well, you're closing on budget and stuff. And so I had to come back stateside for fun stuff like that.
Okay.
But it's just for a month, and then I'll be exiting soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've not given up and moved back. You're just here.
I
for
will
briefly?
move. I've decided I'm moving back next year.
Oh my goodness. So you've
Yeah.
already given up.
I've not given up.
As in permanent, yani forget those things of at CG, at give me 6 months, at CG, the tax CG, I don't know, blah.
They're still there. Why do you have to bring them up? They're
Sorry.
still there. But like I think I can squeak out 3-4 months in a year, especially around allergy season, because I barely leave the house. So what's the point of being around? So that's what I've decided. From next year, I'm not around allergy season, but I'll be here the rest of the year.
So how is that moving permanently?
I'll be mainly based there. Like I will have a house here.
Okay.
Oh, so you're coming back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was slow. Sorry, Ali.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Now, Ruth, before we get started on tonight's conversation, maybe just quickly tell us, because tonight's conversation is going to be about politics. What is one thing you believed about Kenyan politics while living in America that you can no longer defend after now living in Kenya? Ruth.
I think, and I think last time I was here, I mischaracterized what I was like. I'd given up on politics. I think that was not a good explanation of what I meant. But I think this topic does help me articulate that much better. What I thought Kenyan politics are not. I think we do try to look at them from a U.S. Lens and how the U.S. does its politics. That's not how Kenya does politics. For the most part, majority of Americans are middle class, and so like there is stability economically. That is not so with Kenya, and so and also groupings, how the country is grouped, like how people have settled. That plays a huge part in how we vote, and so I've decided to take a backseat. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am involved in the sense of like I'm paying attention, I'm watching, I'm listening, I'm talking to people, but I'm not quick to start saying, oh, you all should do this, or why would you do that? I think we have a lot of civic education to do. We have a lot of, the ground is different. And I see a generation, this Gen Z, deciding we want things to be done differently, but they have a huge task ahead of them. There's the youth vote, but there's the old people vote. And what they've been doing has worked for them, quote unquote. When I say quote unquote, it's like that's what they know, and they've done it over and over again. And so that's why we see they're voting along tribal lines, they're voting around. We wonder why they'll vote somebody who does not look good on paper from our lens.
Okay.
But good example, Sonko. Sonko went to the ground completely.
Yes.
Everybody knew if I need something, I can call Sonko's team and they'll show up.
Yeah.
Right? So we are here like wondering, why would you vote for Sonko? He's solving a problem on the ground.
He's solving an immediate problem that the people have.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what people need.
Okay.
Because as I said, economically Kenya is not stable.
Okay.
Like the US is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the other thing, like also outside politics, what are maybe some of the strongest reactions you got from viewers from the last episodes about moving from Kenya? Now after the dust had settled. Yes,
that topic resonated so well with people. And can I also give a very big shout out to the Massachusetts Kenyans who watched, but also every state has its own media people. They really reshared that show, and so there was quite a bit of traction at least in my home state in the US is Massachusetts. So there was a huge traction there. But even besides that, I received calls, text messages from friends I had not had in years, wanting to I just want to talk to you about that. Thank you for that conversation. You've made me rethink my entire view of just moving to Kenya. I've met people who moved back who said, like, I wish I had that conversation before I had moved to Kenya before.
Okay.
So it was such a relevant topic at the time. I think it remains a relevant topic today. I think you, if you look at the numbers and like the people, like we end up having shows out of that one show.
Yes, absolutely.
So there was a huge reckoning.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, we are going to go back to that conversation again, especially now that you have more experience. Although you've already announced that you're coming back. I'm calling it giving up, but you have a different definition of it, which is okay.
So I have a question
not giving
for her.
up. Yes.
Are you going to vote first before you move, or you'll move first then vote, or you'll vote as you move?
I'll figure it out then. I can't make commitments, but yeah.
Okay. Remember, are you registered to vote?
Not
No.
yet.
Okay.
But I know where to go register.
Yes. So if you're not registered to vote,
Yeah.
you need to know where. You need
Either way,
first
I'm
of all-
voting this
Yeah.
election. Either way.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're gonna get to Mika shortly, but what you need to do is to figure out where you will be on August 10th. So once you know that, reverse engineer. If you're gonna be in Kenya, you need to be registered in Kenya. If
Yeah.
you're gonna be in the US, you need to register in the US. If you're gonna register in the US, you have a very small window.
Okay.
The dates have not been announced.
Yes.
But apparently
Last time it was 2 weeks.
it was 2 weeks the last
Yeah.
time. I'm hoping it's gonna be a bigger window this time.
Yeah.
But we are monitoring what IEBC, will announce.
Yeah.
They haven't announced anything, but the people who are talking about it are saying it might be in January and February. We don't know exactly
Which
when.
is the same thing they did last time.
Yes, it's the same thing they did
And
the
they're
last
not
time.
going to notice.
And
They'll
we,
just
we,
tell us
and
in
we also
January.
don't know. We don't know what additional stations are gonna be there for registration. Yes,
But DC will have a
yeah,
station.
the ones that are there will still be there.
Okay.
The three, right?
Yeah,
There were three,
DC,
right?
DC, New York, and LA. Those
Okay.
ones will still be there.
Okay.
So we don't know whether there'll be additional ones in the US and in other parts of the diaspora.
One
Now-
or another, I am voting.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Now, let me come to the studio to Omosh, and then I'm going to go to Mika. I want you guys to quickly tell me, talk about diasporans just for a minute. Do we tend to be politically courageous about Kenya because we do not personally have to survive the consequences of our recommendations? DJ Omosh Fire.
I think so, because we are there's a buffer. We are removed. And I think the repercussions of those votes normally for us I guess hurt us in our pockets, and I'll say it as it is via black tax. But we are, because we are physically, or should I say we are geographically displaced from people at home.
Disconnected, yes.
Where there's that disconnect of what's actually on the ground. So we tend to put on our diaspora hats based upon what we've last known, which is here, with things and policies and politics that works.
Okay.
So the one at home, the day you figure out that you actually have mastered it is the day when you don't master it. Meaning it's ever changing, it's very fluid, and you roll with the punches. And anybody who's in Kenyan politics will tell you that. In fact, if you're a political science student, Kenyan politics is the best course to take. Because once you go through that stuff, it's mind-boggling. It does not make any sense at all. But as crazy as it doesn't make sense, for us who are here, it works for people at home, because when it comes down to it, they end up going to elect the person who works for them and can resolve their immediate issues, whether it's by saying, whether it's by giving them bread, whether it's by making sure that there's some CDF funds for kids to go to school, or there's a borehole, or there's, and things that you would say regularly should be there. It's part of what they should do, but those then get dangled as, that low-hanging fruit
Yeah.
for the vote.
Okay. All right. Asante sana DJ Omosh Fire. Let's go to Mika Och. Working from home kama kawa. Mika Och, karibu sana. Please tell us, same question that I gave to Omosh. Are we courageous in the diaspora because we are far removed from the consequences of the recommendations that we give as far as politics is concerned? Mika Och, twende kazi.
Okay, so I want to...
Go
Mika
ahead.
Och, come closer to the mic because we can hardly hear you.
I am closer to the mic, but I'm
Okay.
hearing myself. Like I'm hearing myself.
Oh, you're hearing your
There's
echo.
an echo.
There's an echo. Okay, sawa. Wacha, we're gonna figure that out, and then we're gonna get back to you. Bandio, you let us know. So again, the number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. You're tuned in to the OneMic Show. And we have Ruth Kilungu in studio. Today we are talking about Kenyan politics from a perspective of America. Like what blind spots do we have? What are those things that we don't realize? Now, Ruth has had an opportunity to live in Kenya, so she's able to see some of those things that we diasporans are not able to see as far as Kenyan politics concerned. Now, the other question, like you already said that you're going to be coming back, but what I was going to ask you, Ruth, is are you maybe finally fully vested on being in Kenya in as far as settling there, or is there any such thing as being fully vested for diaspora returnees, even the diaspora returnees that you're talking to who have settled there and they're not necessarily planning to come back to live in the US? Is there such a thing as being fully vested? Now you're not even thinking about the US, you're now fully settled in Kenya.
There's some who have, right? I think if you move your entire life to Kenya, and by that I mean you have a job, you have a house, you have children, you have family. The people fully, this is where I'm at right now. I have a job in the US, and my work time is very US centric. So in the sense that I work the US time, so that means I start working around 3 p.m. And I'm sometimes way late. I might go to bed at 1 in the morning. And I think for me that is what is making me decide on, I don't think I can do this.
So the working hours.
The working hours are
time.
brutal.
The timing is-
the timing, because
Okay.
then it's really hard to have a social life,
Okay.
right? Because when the people you want to hang out with are available, you're working, and when you're available, they're working, right?
Okay.
And so you're left with the weekend to do everything. Remember, there's family to visit, there's people to especially, let me say, this family to visit. Weekend tends to be family time for majority of people. I'm not saying that people don't hang out as friends or whatever, they do, but there's priority to family over the weekend. And so if I am trying to number one, I'm trying to hang out with my family over the weekend, but also my friends are also hanging out with their family. So really it's this, I've been here, I've been trying to see someone for 6 months,
and it's not working.
And it's not working. So besides family, there's nothing else is in Kenya for me, right? Because the proximity is good. Kuchukua simu kuongea na mtu na kusema, hey, hello, I'm in town, let's plan to meet. And there's good intention, but the time is not there.
Now, if the timing was adjusted, let's say if your company allowed you to work on Kenyan time, would you consider...
If my work, not in my company, because my work is based in the US because...
No, I know, but I'm just saying, assuming that they allowed you to work on Kenyan time, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, Kenyan time, would you consider staying?
Yeah.
So that's one reason that you're saying
the biggest
work
reason.
Hours. Yeah.
Biggest reason.
Okay. So is that an issue for people who have moved to Kenya, or is it or rather for diasporans who moved to Kenya, or is it just Ruth?
I will start with that. That's just me, because the people in Kenya who don't do the second shift, I keep calling it that.
No, I'm talking about the ones who do second shift. The people who are in Kenya doing the second shift.
Oh, they all complain about that.
Okay,
They all
okay.
complain, but you remember that they're not there long term like I was. Somebody comes for December and they only have like 2-3 weeks to work that shift.
Yeah.
I mean, you have, and December is such an easy month to
Yeah.
work from Kenya. The people are willing to be like I also somebody was in Amboseli
Yeah.
while they were working. It's like
Aye.
in the morning I went to I was at Amboseli. I think there was a safari rally at the time. Or someone who is Amanda Mombasa. The people are having fun
Yeah.
in December, but like for me, June, like beginning March all the way to October, busy time at work. I don't have time to like do extracurricular activities at the same time
Okay.
when I'm working.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about hours. That's what's making you come back to the US.
Yeah, because I socially, besides family, I don't see any added benefit
Okay.
to being in Kenya. Well, there is economic. Like I'm not spending too much money,
Okay.
but like socially, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Good.
that's not. I think Ruth's case is. I'm gonna say specific because of her industry.
Okay.
Like her industry is such that
you have to be there within
and you also have
US business hours.
and you're talking to your clients as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And clients could be internally in the company or they could be external, whether you're
Okay.
doing auditing, whether you're going through whatever, and you have to, liaise with folks so that you can balance your stuff. So you have to talk to them US time. But there's
Okay.
some people who work in other industries, maybe somebody who's in IT, who's an application developer, and as long as your deliverable is met, you don't necessarily have to work the US hours as long as you can deliver and then meet with your reports or the people who you're dealing with to say, hey, okay, I'm handing over to Nishaifanya Ndioi, it's posted and it's now available, blah blah blah. So some people have that flexibility. And so time is not necessarily a big deal, meaning they can start the day later or they can start it and then they can drop off.
Okay.
So they have a way, and some the people who figured it out,
Yeah.
it actually literally works for them.
Yes.
The timing is the biggest issue, or should I say complaint. And once you figured it out, then it really works out because internet speed is not an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
not.
Yeah. I
Even
know.
power.
Yes, I know some companies, like have that idea that you have to be there within the core hours, and the core hours could be anywhere between 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So you can adjust your shift based on that little window that they have, or sometimes it's 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. But let's go to Mika right now. I think Mika is connected back. Mika, I'm gonna go back to the question that I had today. We are talking siasa. Do people in the diaspora tend to be courageous because we give our recommendations or talk about the Kenyan government and castigate it from a distance and don't have to live with the consequences? Mika, karibu sana.
Thank you, Ali, and welcome back, Ruth, and welcome back to all our listeners. Now, I've been listening to what the others have said, and I've also weighed up that question. And I can say that it depends on who you're looking for when you're saying people from the diaspora, because there are different groupings of people from the diaspora. The people from the diaspora who involve themselves in Kenyan politics, get to know, to understand, and actually go back home and vote. There are people in the diaspora who left Kenya, who, as you've said, the ones who look at it from the prim pink rose-colored glasses, and judge the politics based on where they are. And then there are people who have an interest. This is the younger generation who have an interest back home in Kenya, and they want to get involved in the politics from Kenya because they feel like they want to change back home, but they don't understand the politics in Kenya. And it's not understanding from a part of ignorance or a part of rose-colored glasses, but it's understanding of lack of knowledge. And they get to know, and they get more passionate and more involved with, especially when they speak to their younger kids. So depending on who you're talking to, you're going to get a different variety on how that person looks at the politics in Kenya. There's going to be a Ndombolo, who understands politics. Yo enda Kenya na vote, anajua kila kitu ya ground. Hata ukienda Kenya yeye ni mjuaji kushinda Mkenya. Utakuwa na mtu amekuja hapa amekaa Borimo miaka kadhaa, amezoea efficiency ya Borimo, mwe maisha yake ana compare wa Matangi na Jonio. Unaona? Alafu sasa kuna mwenye amezaliwa huku, alikuwa myang, anaona vitu, akiona mtoto wangu akiona mimi nikiona YouTube anaona siasa ya Kenya na kuwa interested, cause anajisema watu wafai kufanya hivyo, anataka kukuwa involved. Yeye ajui siasa ya Kenya. So atakanikana kuja from a perspective of where anakuja na pedo, but after a while akishai understand, then you find they get actually more passionate and these are the people who go and changamsha the young people, the bases there. Remember, activism in Africa ilikuwa inaenda hand in hand with the black movement here. So these people, once they started talking to the people who are fighting for independence in Africa, and with the black groups over here, these black groups are the ones who actually were educating the Africans and telling them, fanyeni hivi na hivi, mnaweza fight hivi, mnaweza fanya hivi. So depending from which angle you're looking at it, you can paint the brush of how the diasporan is looking at it. But yes, there is a privilege they look at it, but it depends from which angle they're coming from.
Okay, all right, quite interesting. So Mika says there's nuance here, like with our diasporans. There are those who, there's one extreme of people who completely don't understand it, and they are comparing, like a local Kenyan politician to Johnny O in Baltimore. And then there are those who are fully engaged, have an understanding, they travel back home, and have all those little nuanced details. So we have a clip that we're going to be playing a little bit later on the show, about from a Kenyan journalist who was just giving her perspectives about people in the diaspora. But Ruth, as Bandiwe is preparing that clip, which I just want us to start playing it slowly from the beginning. It's about a 10-minute clip. I just want us to start playing it slowly from the beginning. But before we get to that clip, do diasporans misunderstand Kenyan voters or Kenyan politics? Or are you in agreement, with Mika, that there are some diasporans who are fully engaged, who are fully connected, they know what's happening on the ground, they travel back home frequently, they go and vote? From your experience now living there, what would you say, Ruth?
Personally, I did not get it. Right? Let me start with that. And I want to say... You did not get what? Okay, thank you for having me clarify that. Personally, I thought I understood, and I got there and I realized I don't get it, right? And to what Mika said, I think if there are Kenyans in the diaspora who get it, they, number one, have lived in Kenya. They've gone through voting cycles in Kenya. Politics has affected their day-to-day lives, and they are now here, and they probably go back to Kenya frequently.
So tell us, what do you mean by frequently? So let's say a Kenyan who lives here, but goes to Kenya maybe like 3 times in a year. And is connected to WhatsApp, but they work here. They go, like maybe 2 weeks here, 3 weeks there. They travel like 2-3 times in a year. Is that person, could you say that person has a deep connection and knows, what's happening on the ground? And they even vote during the election cycles. They're registered to vote in Kenya. They vote in Kenya.
Personal opinion. Kenyans in diaspora who understand politics in Kenya, first and foremost, must have lived in Kenya and gone through cycles, like political cycles. Like they've lived through a full term of a president from beginning to end.
So 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
They've experienced Kibaki. They've experienced, I'm not saying all of them, just say Kibaki, they've experienced Uhuru, they've experienced now Ruto.
Okay.
Right? Ruto is new, a bit, but like in terms of like a full cycle. So they voted and they had to experience the consequences of that vote.
Okay.
Without that, to a good extent, you're disconnected from the ground.
So would you say that, because there are some diasporans who will tell you, that they're very connected, they travel 2-3 times, despite the fact that they've been living here the last 25 years. Would you say that these diasporans are people who think they understand more than actually understand, or how would you characterize them? No, they've not lived. They've not lived in 25 years. They came here, after high school. They've lived here for 25 years, but every year, wako Kenya. Every election period, they are voting. But the last 25 years, they've been living here. They've not stayed there. Maybe the most they've been there is a month, or maybe 5 weeks, or maybe 7 weeks.
I think if they go to Kenya, they're very, very deliberate in getting to the ground. Probably.
Okay.
But if it's just I go to visit, and number one, from where you live, where you consume, where you buy your goods, like if you're not connected to, let me say, there's a day I wanted to buy a solar light, like a solar system. And I went to a store, I think it was Zimmerman. It was the closest one to where I was, to where I was. And when I walked in and I asked for this, for that.
The solar lamp.
It wasn't a lamp, it was a system. It was like 5 lights to it and a thing, right?
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. And it was going for 19,000. Now I was going to buy it and walk out, right? The lady who was telling me about it, because like the other thing I try to do is like, even if I've done my own research like I would here, I wouldn't go buy something I'm not so sure about. I'll go do my own research, know exactly what I'm buying when I walk into that store. But even having done my research, I listen to the salespeople because I want to hear from them, like what they think of the product themselves and what they're trying to sell me that I don't know, right? What I picked is she told me that, with this one, you can pay, I think, 60 shillings a day.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's almost M-Copper-ish.
Okay.
Right?
You
You can get it on loan, you pay
Yes.
60
Installment.
shillings a day.
Yeah.
M-Copper.
Yeah.
And they take it off your M-Pesa.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every day,
Yeah.
right? That was shocking to me because I was like, okay, number one, I hate payments. Let's start with that. I like, even like my insurance or any loan I have, I hate payments and they are monthly. Okay. The whole idea of like, I have to carry that in my head. So I when you're budgeting, when I'm doing my monthly, whatever, I have to set around this amount of money because they will just be deducted from my bank, right? I'm okay, like I'm whatever, I have to live with that, right?
Yeah.
So wondering how someone lives knowing that every day money is being deducted from their account and they are doing 60 a day because they cannot afford anything more than that.
And that's
Right?
very popular.
And that's
It's
very popular.
People buy phones,
Yes.
fridge,
Like that.
TV.
Yes.
Lots
yes.
of things
Yeah.
like
Yes.
that, right?
Installments. In fact, installments payments, those things have been there since 19 Gongalo, the installment payments.
They've
It's
been
just
there.
that they've switched
They've
the way
been there.
this
What's
happens.
different? It's this daily. This
Daily,
daily
they
thing.
daily-
And that's why I
Yeah.
say they've switched because remember, if you're doing the daily, that means that they're also collaring interest.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's severe
And it's
interest.
really
Yes.
bad.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
really
Very
bad.
bad interest.
And I remember I looked at my sisters like, what do you mean? Like the lady was telling me, no, if you want, you can be deducted 60 shillings a day. And I'm like,
But then
let me finish, Mika.
Yeah.
And I told my sisters like, what do you mean? This my sister told me, apa wako kwa ground kabisa.
Yeah.
This is ground,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you and I would probably walk into a store, which we were there to do, buy and get out. I don't
correct.
have to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
But like that every day. Can you imagine
Yeah.
that every day for somebody? I am totally, even in Kenya, I'm removed from that person. What do they have to do every day to make sure that that money is available on top
Mjengo.
of feeding people?
Yes.
Right? So, and I think when we talk about local politics, it's easy for us to talk from a from a point of view of like, I understand, but not really get the pain,
pain,
point
yeah.
of that person on the ground. Like, this is all that they can afford.
Yeah.
And they are willing to commit to the interest rates that are very high, but they can afford the 60 every day,
Yes.
than telling the person either to buy it wholesale completely and leave, or even a monthly pay. Because
Yeah.
to them, it's like, by the time it's a month, it's too much money, I can't
Yes.
pay, right?
Yeah.
So
But
I think if we were to fully understand that person,
Yes.
then probably we can understand politics in Kenya.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Mika.
So for me, I'm looking at it from a totally different angle here, right? Because you understanding that person doesn't help that person in anything in any way. What we need to understand that economy. That is what we call microeconomy. So we need to understand that if we are going to fix issues pertaining Kenya and particularly Africa, we have to do what other countries that were in microeconomies have done to improve. We have to start investing in that microeconomy. The problem is in Kenya, we want to invest like we are first world countries. If you see startups, if you see things that industries that people want to invest in, they want to invest in high earning industry, high money industry, high economic value. Yeah. If we want to improve Africa, minus the politics, no matter what politics you put in Africa, if we don't build an infrastructure to support that microeconomy and to grow it, we'll never get rid of it. There's some things here where you have to look at it from a perspective of it's not just politics alone. It goes beyond politics.
So, Mika, I hear you. I think what I'm trying to explain is, like when we talk about on the ground, what we mean by on the ground.
Yes.
I think I was just trying to explain that.
Yes.
What we mean by what is on the ground.
And I think to piggyback on what Mika said, because I now do have some experience with investing on that microeconomy. You know, like rather than investing in Kilimani, in some silly apartment, you go invest down on the ground, you know, and I'm saying it because, you know, and I've said this in public before, you know, now I'm a proud owner of 3 different borders, and there's certain things that I'm learning now and noticing. So there's a company, a publicly traded company in Kenya called Car and General. So Car and General does not have it offers loans on borders and tuk-tuks. So what I came to learn about those loans, a border is like 100K. If you want a good one, maybe slightly more, you can get a used one for around 80K. So you can go buy those new ones at Car and General, and then they give you a loan that you have to pay with your earnings for a period of about 2 years. And at the end of that 2 years, 100K motorbike, you've paid maybe close to 200K. You know, like once you've calculated the fees, and then very likely because you sometimes you get sick, sometimes you get late fees. They are loaded in such a heavy way. So what I did is I get into a partnership. I buy the border. I get into a partnership with someone who can manage it for me, find the rider. So now the rider is not hooked to any debt. There's a second person who's managing it for me, who's also earning, and then there's me who's getting, you know, like a return. You know, rather than put that 100K in a bank and you get peanuts, you're actually better off, even you as an investor. So I think, you know, like piggybacking on what Mika has said, is we need to start understanding that microeconomy like you're talking about. Like what are people buying in those small amounts? Why are they doing it? You know, because they end up paying so much money. How is it that I can deploy my money to be able to alleviate, you know, like these crazy interest rates that people on the ground are paying? Because those are very, you know, like very predatory loans. They are worse than those loans that Obama, you know, like banned from here. And to me, I think hizo vitu, I think they compound poverty. I think people go for them because it's an option that's available at that particular time. But then when there's that temptation of getting a TV, a fridge, this and that, before you know it, you're working to pay those loans
they
from what you're
hope.
earning. Yeah,
They sell you hope.
Yes.
And they sell you knowing that even if they lost the asset that they've sold to you, they've already made money from you
And
to
more.
cover that asset. That it's such a, and then you usually find it's hidden behind a very big major player and a major financial
Yes.
institution that handles. So that is where you need the politics to come in and stop such companies from taking such advantage. But then for that microeconomy to just increase and move. The thing is this, you see why even in America, when the economy goes down, they usually release stimulus checks. Stimulus checks don't go to rich people. They go to poor people. But when the poor people spend that stimulus check, what happened? Money is in circulation. When money is in circulation, the economy improves. Life becomes easier for everybody because money is available. Unaweza pata do, ukitoka nje unagongana na pesa. Suddenly pesa, when people are scared of spending and everybody is saving, everybody is holding on to their money, the economy suffers. So that's why when money is moving, I can decide, is it takataka ni mosh? Kuja nikupe dola mbao pao nitufagilie hii backyard yangu. There's easy money for everybody because everybody is catching pesa ikitoka inarudi. It's not about people having money in the bank or anything. Money is in circulation. Ikiingie inarudi, kirudi kitoka hivi najua. It makes the economy flows, it makes everything easier.
Okay.
Now when money is not flowing, it becomes an issue. Now the problem in Kenya is that politicians have learned that.
Okay.
And during campaign season, they withdraw money from the banks and start giving cash money. Cash. And when you get cash, you go to the shop. You put it in your M-Pesa. You see that microeconomy starts, suddenly it boosts up. Suddenly everybody in the village has money. Mama wachanga na pesa kwa sababu watu walipewa pesa kanunua. Mama wachanga akaenda kanunua kabuche ya Omosh. Omosh akatoka hapo akakuja kwa Mika kanunua maziwa ya Mika. Mika akaenda kanunua waruza Ruth, kanunua mahindi ya Alira nini ya Bandio. Money is moving every other kwa kijiji.
Okay.
Kwa sababu jamu wa kampeni alikuja katoa hizo 200.
Okay.
But then it disappears after a while when they go back and then they start holding the money for them to do what they were doing and you go back to square one. So we have to heal that from the politicians. Invest in that microeconomy. That politician doesn't have that loophole to control people.
Okay, all right, good. We're going to go to Ruth and then we're going to go to Bandio to play us the clips that are coming from the ground on what people down there are thinking of the diaspora. Ruth?
I think Mika did a very good thing to articulate what that microeconomy, why it drives politicians, because they know they've understood it, right?
Yeah.
So if today all I need is 500 shillings to make my loan, to buy food, transport, something, money I have to work for, right? And a politician comes and gives me 1,000, right?
Solved your problems.
Solved my problem for 2 days.
Yeah.
Right? So it's easy for me to be inclined to vote for that person.
Okay.
Because in the moment, maybe in those 2 days, siko nimepatizo pesa, by the way.
Yes.
So this person has come and saved me. And so in my mind,
you don't forget that. You remember that.
Yeah.
you remember that,
Yeah.
right? And then
Kumbuka.
that let me finish. And in that moment, it's easy then for me to be like, you know what? Hata kama hatarudi tena, when I was in need, when I desperately needed it,
Alikuja
he
kanisaidia.
came through. He or
Okay.
she came
But-
through.
Okay,
then
Mika, quick
Ruth,
before we go
remember-
to the
Yeah.
audio. Yeah.
Yeah, real quick, remember, parliament inafungwa January, si ndio? Late January, February ikienda kuanza. Parliament inadissolviwa na mwendeni mkampeni. So kutoka hiyo time mpaka August. 200 kila weekend.
That's
So kila weekend mna guarantee mnakula at least kila weekend. On a lose Monday ukitembea unakutana na 50 bob.
Okay.
Kutoka kwa mtu mwingine mwenye na campaign. So that is what the way that confusion can come in easily because for the next 6-5 months people won't have shida ya kukula ya kulala njaa.
okay. That is some serious problem solving. Na leo sijaona comments, like Facebook. Number to call is 202-683-4570. Na YouTube pia, let us know what you think. We are talking about why Kenyan politics looks different from the United States. Bandio, play us that clip. Just start from the beginning and then I'm going to tell you where to stop. Of just some sentiment from a Kenyan journalist, who has some sentiments and thoughts about people from the diaspora. Bandio, twende kazi.
people in the diaspora miss when, as it pertains to politics in their home countries. And I've thought about it for quite a while. And honestly, I genuinely believe that when someone has been in the diaspora for quite a while, I think with time, a lot of people who live in foreign countries, they begin to adopt these foreign ways of thinking. For example, you who've been in the US for quite some time, everyone knows in the US it's quite, it's good guy versus bad guy, Trump versus Biden, Trump versus Hillary. It's always a good guy, Obama, good guy, quote unquote, versus bad guy kind of narrative. Like politics is kind of like a story to them, to a lot of them. But mind you, I'm saying that as a foreigner myself, I'm foreign to the US, so I probably don't know much, but I'm just talking based on what I've seen. But I think on Kenyan ground, it's about much more than that, particularly Kenya. My dad used to talk about it a lot. He used to say Africans, we lack critical thinking when it comes to politicking and governance. But personally, I don't agree. As a person who grew up middle class Kenyan, I believe I'm just as removed from vitu kwa grao as someone in the diaspora, actually.
Pause it there. All right. The middle class in Kenya could be as removed as people from the diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
She first talked about, how politics is characterized here, as this versus that, Republican versus Democrat, Trump versus Biden, good guy versus evil guy. And it's kind of a story. And to a certain extent, there's an entertainment element to the politics that's here in the United States. And she also mentioned that her dad at some point felt that a lot of Africans lacked critical thought, but she kind of disagreed with that. But the most profound thing she said is that the Kenyan middle class may be as removed from political realities as the diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
These Kilimani boys, these guys
I
who run
agree with
around
her.
quivers.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that because in Kenya we have a tendency of inaitwanga ile tabia ostrich ya kuingiza kichwa kwa mchanga. Yeah, we do have a tendency of that, and we have a tendency of uncooling stuff. This is not cool, this is not cool, and then you avoid stuff. So there's some people in Kenya who deliberately avoid siasa just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
But then another thing is that also in the middle class in Kenya, we have this thing in our pride where we usually want to know things about ourselves, right? And I can know about politics because something was trending. Like Kibaki can do something and we're in the bush. So that did jana, and then I ask about it, I go watch news. And remember, Kenya, you're middle class, like they're still, you're interacting with other people. And you get to see. So it's a toss-up. Kuna wale wenye, depending on their day-to-day interactions of life, who get to experience the other side of the road. Na kuna wale wenye wako na ostrich syndrome ya kujifunika na kujificha kichwa. I don't believe a majority of them are so separated from the realities of what's happening. They might be separated from the realities of labda ajawaila la njaa ama ajawaila la kwa nyumba ya mabati ama nini, but at one point that stark reminder of reality in Kenya ni kitu happen very easily. Unaweza kwa hivi uko Kilimani unapiga round upigwe ngeta ushange hili tokea hadi.
Okay. Ruth has something to add also onto that.
Yeah. I think when she says that the middle class might be as removed as the diaspora, I'm going to go back to my example of the solar system I went to buy, lighting, whatever I went to buy. There is a huge chunk of Kenyans who there is, I think the middle class for the most part might not be spending 60 shillings a day to buy something like that. To them, they might maybe split it into 2-3 months, but not an every day for like almost a year, right? So there's a remove of like, I don't understand why I would be paying something daily. Well, if you just saved enough, you'd be able to pay either 1, 2, or 3 times and you're done. So the middle class may not be able to get the entire amount. They might get the entire amount or not the entire amount, but not the day-to-day, payments to afford something. But that then, in that sense, and they will be removed from understanding that, like, kwa ground when you're kowa, like, I don't know whether you sometimes I listen to social media in Kenya and I'm like, it's so, the divide is so big.
Lakini social media gani unaingia? Instagram ama Twitter? Unategemea. Kuna moja ni ya masonko na ingine ni ya raia.
Enda TikTok.
Anapenda
kuna kila mtu.
TikTok.
Kuna kila mtu,
Bana TikTok unajua ni app ya vienyeji.
Ati?
Ni app ya kienyeji. I don't know that.
Ni app ya vienyeji.
Yeah.
Wow.
TikTok.
No, because I want to understand where I live now. And I don't want to be in a bubble. So I'm deliberate in actually seeking information that is different than what I consume, right? So I've made, I could go and buy a fully tailored kitenge somewhere. I go to Nairobi Textile. To get to Nairobi Textile is an exercise by itself. I take an Uber to Galito's opposite Archives, then nashuka, alafu natembea uko ndani, and then I go to Nairobi Tech. That is the first time I did that. I was like, what is this? Like, it's chaotic, right? But like, I've made it because then I'll go and talk to foods and nimeshonewa nguo and I'm like, apa mimi tunafika maybe 5,000-6,000. Person quotes me 2,000-3,000, and at first utakula nini? I want to ask them utakula nini, know. So I've made that deliberate decision to actually try to understand where I live, and so I consume the news and I try to go to buy things from a place I know it's quality, but I nitaenda chini, right? In that, I'm not in a bubble. It's easy to be in the bubble, right? And so I feel like, and then I meet my friends when I tell them I went to Nairobi Textile, they live in Kenya. They're like, why? What are you doing in town? Unaenda kufanya nini?
No, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
that is very true.
We don't go to CBD.
No, atuendage CBD.
Right? Yeah. And they actually think I'm crazy for even venturing out there. But you see, that's what I mean, like, there is a removal from the ground. Because there's somebody who is like, I don't need to go there. I have everything I need where I am.
And if they need it, they have a plug.
They have a plug. Someone will go do that for them.
Yes.
So it's easy to be very removed from the day-to-day hustle of of Kenyans when you have resources to bring the things to where you are. And I think there's that when she says she's equally as removed.
Yeah.
Like when I first met with her, we met at Sarit, right? So like we didn't meet somewhere else. So like Sarit is it's outside of town to start with.
Yeah.
It's very orderly.
Yeah.
It's not chaotic. So it's easy to be removed from other not scenarios, realities.
Yes, absolutely.
Of other Kenyans.
But what? Let me play. What's an interesting devil's advocate up? 90% of residents of Kilimani, Lavington, Kileleshwa, Yasai, walitoka across the road.
What do
They
you
were
mean?
not born.
What
They
do
were
you mean
not
by
born
across
into
the
that.
road?
They were not born into that lifestyle.
Okay.
Ni watu wamehama.
Across,
Wamekuja
across,
wakapata
I think
job
he meant across the river.
Okay.
Yeah. Across Uhuru Highway wamehama.
Okay.
So their separation is a deliberate separation, ndio kwa nimeita ostrich syndrome, ya kujificha kutaka.
Yeah. Now,
But when it comes to the reality of things of the ground, inakuja kwa nini? I'll give you an example, Ali. Unaona? Most people who own houses in slums are rich people who live in Karen, right?
slumlords.
Hata tuseme slumlords. Wacha tuwe slumlords. Tuweke oja middle class Kenya nafaa kuwa naishi umo, lakini hapa tumeweka middle class Lavington. But so tuseme mse mwenye naishi umo, naishi Kasarani nini hizo mta zingine zote, si ndio? Nyumba yenye rent, landlord hiyo nyumba naishi Karen.
Yes.
Right? All landlord Karen, majority of the time kama ni smart, hukuwa anafundisha watoto wake value huko palizo nyumba ziko.
Yes.
Unapelekwa kwa mjengo, unapelekwa ufani, unazoea hiyo nini, unazoea kudeal na staff, unapoa pick up drive na nini, unazoea watu, like a good businessman understand his employees to a point whereby hakwangi away from reality employees wake, so that ajue kumanuva anytime wako na shida, akiwasaidia anawakeep loyal kwake.
Okay. Now,
so a majority of the people who you will call middle class wanajua reality ya ground. Majority of the people who say they don't know the reality of the ground, watu walitoka kwa ground, wanataka, it might be because of trauma, it might be because of whatever reason. I'm not judging anybody.
Yeah. Now,
right?
Yeah. Now, when we talk of our generation, the way I see it, when we talk of our generation, you know, like someone who grew up in Buruburu, someone who grew up in Umoja, someone who grew up in, let's say, anywhere in Islando.
Buru, Doni.
Those were not, I would not consider those people who were what you would call poor today. Those were not poor people.
They are the middle class.
So those guys are the ones who moved from hizo neighborhood zile wako na wakakuja, maybe waka upgrade, wakakuja Kilimani, Kileleshwa, etc. Now I think the way the economy has flipped and the cost of living, you know, like the affordability of a basket of goods is much lower. You know, like zamani when we were going to private schools like Moi Educational Center, you'd still see people, you know, like able to afford from places that are not considered, you know, like wealthy areas. You'd still see people able to afford those schools. But now, because vile economy imeenda, hiyo level ya umaskini imezidi, you know, and now you're seeing areas like Umoja, solid middle class neighborhood, is being looked at, you know, like some type of way. Siwezi kuishi Umoja.
Who is?
Eh?
Because then I think that person is above middle
Umoja,
class.
so let me tell you,
Yeah.
if in the mid 90s, you could live in Umoja or you could live in Kayole and you're working, you know, like a very decent job in a bank, in a corporate institution, and it was acceptable.
It was
very acceptable. But now things have changed. You know, like kama unaishi huko, you know, like it's kind of like been downgraded. Those neighborhoods were neighborhoods where people could afford very decent lives. Watu walikuwa na watu, you know, like especially weekend Umoja J, you know, like most households had cars. The people who, you know, like were living, you know, like a solid middle class life. That middle class that we talk about in terms of what lifestyle you can afford, it has shrunk. And now I think sasa watu wamekutana Kilimani ndo wanajita middle class. Kama unaishi huko, yes, kama unaishi huko Kangundo Road, kule kuna vumbi ukiamka asubuhi, you know, like asubuhi even when there's dew kitoka vumbi na kuchapa. So now it's considered, you know, like a different kind of place. Tutarudi kwa hiyo
unajua nini, kuna middle class zingine,
yeah,
where I see that the estates which like you'll find like places Kasio Kimau, Roy, India, Kilimani and nini, you find a nice good house, 5-4 bedroom, 3 nini bedroom. I don't know middle class or kweli.
And they're
Yes.
cheaper than Kilimani. So
Yes.
I
And they're cheaper
wouldn't
than
even,
Kilimani.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't consider Kilimani middle class. It's above.
I want the middle class, like I want the middle class, like I want the real middle class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a middle class, but I don't think people have an assumption of like, since you go America, there's a middle class, I'm working.
Nani
America.
sisi? Sisi, by the way, whether you like it or not, Mika, tuko either middle ama upper middle. Whether you like it or not, my friend. You know,
more than to working class.
We are middle class. No.
Wait. We are way
you
above
make
that.
6 figures, you're middle class.
We are way above that. You know, like median income, individual income
Yeah.
is, I think, $40-something thousand
Yeah.
in the US.
Yeah.
Kwa hivyo, Mika,
And
you
also,
know,
not everybody makes 100,000, by the way.
by the way, Mika, whether you like it or not, uko either top 15%, and that's something a lot of, you know, like
People-
Kenyans,
yeah.
because tunapendaga kujifanyaga watu wa ground. That's one thing that a lot of Kenyans, because a lot of Kenyans who came here, they came to college, you know, so you're college educated. Most Kenyans here, at least most Kenyans I know, you know, like around me, are earning 6 figures. So come on,
yeah.
earn 6 figures, my friend.
You're not.
where
You're,
uko
you're,
working
you're
cla-
solidly in the middle class.
Actually, a
and
majority
above.
of the people we came with and wengi, I think, kwanza wenye wako biashara,
Yeah.
wengi wameanza ku branch into 7.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, watu
Yeah.
wameomoka mbaya sana.
Yeah.
So mazee nyinyi amko hiyo kategoria mwezi kuanza kujiingiza hapo. Let's go
Mi niko kwa ground.
yeah. You
Yeah,
know, like
right.
Bandio, let's go back to that clip from Kenya so that we get some realities about how Kenyans are seeing us in the diaspora. Tuendelee kutoka pale we stop.
I'm removed from, these issues that Kenyans in poverty, which is the majority, experience. And because of that, it's easy to assume that Kenyans vote based on things like tribal lines, as well must know, gathering the Kikuyu vote, quote unquote, the Luo vote, quote unquote. They vote based on promises of unga na mafuta, or they vote based on how much money which politician gave them during that specific campaign period, right? So, and it's easy to assume these things and to assume it's because you're dumb and you're not thinking critically about the politics going on in your area. Like, you're not thinking critically. But I genuinely don't think it's that shallow. It's easy to think, why do you let yourself be lied to over and over again? You're not learning. Kwani you can't reason, But for me, myself, I think it's much deeper than that. We're quick to believe that Kenyans don't think deeply about these things, but...
Okay. Asante sana Bandio. So a couple of things came up here, like very profound. This is, like a Kenyan journalist, like talking about perspective of diasporans. Of course, from the previous clip, she said that the middle class could be as removed as people in the diaspora, which was so profound. And then she also said it's easy to assume Kenyans vote on tribal lines, but rather they vote based on unga na mafuta or how much politicians give them. And then there's the assumption that they're all dumb and do not think critically about their choices. We're quick to believe Kenyans don't think deeply. Oniapa about tribal voting, I think there was some disagreement here in the group, like about it, especially from you, Omosh. So this, she's saying it's easy to assume Kenyans vote on tribal lines, but according to her, that's not the case. They vote based on unga na mafuta and how much it is. So, Omosh Fire, what are your thoughts about that?
And in listening to Ruth, I've had to kind of take a step back and try to dissect what my thoughts, or should I say what I think of. And I think I'd say I'm at a very big disadvantage because I'm the one who's been here. I've been here longest.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
very
kama,
long.
Kama kuna removal factor,
Yeah.
Umosh is it.
Yes.
But I also go ahead, Mikasa.
No, Maliza and then Maliza.
I also go back home
Yeah.
quite a bit. Now, the part of when you are asking the question about people who go home and how they connect, and somebody going home twice, 3 times, blah blah, once every whatever. At the time when you're home, are you home when there's politics or politricks, or are you home when it's vacation? That actually matters in terms of how you get, I guess, integrated into the system and to understand what's really happening on the ground politically. I think the last time that I was home when there was politics going on was when was it? When those Men in Black came out.
Oh, Men in Black. That was before. That was before the last election. That was before 2022 election.
This was.
Can you please explain? Many black people don't get it.
So Men in Black are goons who are dressed in suits. They're usually deployed to disrupt events like like nominations. Like if things are not going your way,
yes.
If things are not going your way, you have them deployed.
And then, all the ballots are destroyed,
Yes.
and that whole thing is.
Yes.
That whole exercise is a wash.
Yes, and
they have
I'm
to-
I'm a bit familiar with the operations.
and they have
just
to
as
reset the clock.
by observation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ali was a pain.
Last but
Yeah. So Mosh.
So for me, when it comes down to the tribal line, I go by the politics that I saw, or should I say, was ingrained or part of my pre-coming to America, and then adding in what has transpired since, based upon the lines that we have seen being formed in terms of folks from this area vote a certain way, or vote behind a certain leader, or vote a certain party. So either, and now the way things are happening, because at some point it was, okay, it's a tribal line, then there's a guy who's the so-called leader who is going to be on the tribal side, and then you go the party. So we had 3-piece, then I think we went to, from 3-piece, I think
To
we went to
6-piece, yeah.
Right? Which went all the way down to MCA.
To MCA,
right?
yeah.
And then, and they're like, okay, so vote for the party and vote all the candidates of the party all the way down to MCA, basically the 6-piece. And so when I look at the tribe factor, for me, I still say that the tribe factor is there and it plays quite a bit of a role. However, it seems like personalities or people, aka maybe it's that guy who's giving you that 100 a day for the next 6 months, or it's the MCA on the ground who always looks out for you and knows which programs to wake your child in so that you don't pay fees, or you get some sort of need. Those are the personalities who then are pushing the local, I would say the local politicians, or the folks who are getting the local ones. But at the presidential level, it seems, and that's me looking on from the outside, it seems like tribe is still truly a big, huge factor, because the presidential candidates line themselves up against those tribal cocoons. Basically, they're like, okay, if I want votes, then I need to line myself up with people from this region, with people from this region, with people from this region, or somebody who's a so-called kingpin from that region, so I can garner votes. And this is at the presidential. May not necessarily be the same at the MP level, or at, I guess, the governor level, or because governor is basically, it's local politics. But again, it's the guy who's giving me the sweetest story and is feeding me is the one who I get to vote for, unless he's a guy who I'm just taking chums from, but then I have a guy.
So I agree with you to a good extent. There is a tribal factor in presidential elections, but let's not go Sindambali. Let's start with Ruto Uhuru. There are 2 programs, both ran on different elections, definitely. So Ruto runs as a hustler and tells, like, trust me, I'm a hustler like you, right? Now, as much as you might go and form coalitions that are tribal to bring him the votes, right? Like trying to get, say, the Kikuyu vote, or the Nandi vote, or the Luo vote, or whatever it is, right? It might do that. but there is still a message that he's trying to talk to that Kenyan that may resonate with him, right? Like the hustler message really did get to people. Mama Mboga, border guys, like he did try to get to those people. That's one. The other one was the laptops in Uhuru's campaign. There are Kenyans who literally believe their kids are going to be, computer experts because the laptops are coming right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination of both. There are people who believe the message they're being given, and at the same time, the coalition that come around that are formed on tribal lines as well.
Now, Mika.
I lose my thought. You know what? This sounds so good, right? It sounds so good when you're giving a presentation. But then let's go to the reality, right? Mtoto wetu Uhuru amerogwa. Ndio kwa sababu wamekubali kuleta huyu mdu ndazimu huku kwetu, akishika atatutua tutavaa suruali.
What?
Those are the messages.
Those are the messages that were being given. Those are the narratives
during campaign. Those are the narratives that are being pushed.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Wait, what? Sorry, repeat that and explain it. See
so
how removed I am.
Also removed.
I told you I'm super removed.
So
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
This was before she went home.
Yeah, this was
That's
before.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's let's be realistic, right? People eat during campaign season.
Yes.
And people eat during campaign season. And in Kenya, the most held accountable politician inakwanga ni MCA, ule wenye wanaonanga kila siku. Huyo ndo jamaa usumbuliwa na ndo jamaa lazima, like MCA lazima afanyange kitu, lazima atengeneze barabara, like lazima uko lazima. That is why MCAs are so hard on governors, right? After MCA ni governor,
MP.
After MCA ni MP. MP
atasumbuliwa,
ndo mwingine anasumbuliwa, lazima kuwa anakuja kila weekend kuacha kwa Karuabe. Alafu after you ni governor, then the least politician that's held responsible is the president, because ameshelteriwa na hao wengine wote. Hao wengine wote they're usually ile MP enda kutafuta kura kwao.
But on hii issue ya
very few ngoja kwanza alinimalize, very few MPs will go to a metropolitan area and fight for elections. Very few have that courage, right? But even the ones that have that courage, you'll usually see they will lean in areas where they know their tribesmen wamejaa. Mtu kama Gumo anaenda West kwa sababu anajua Luyo wameshikilia Kangemi na hiyo area yote wamejaza huko, right? Raila bado alikuwa ameshikilia side ya Kibich na hii side ya huku juu. Ukiangalia kina Mwenje, kina Karuru wameshikia Kasarani ya Embakasi because iko next to Kikuyu. Like basically ukiangalia Nairobi wangemedivided into four major tribal Wakamba, Wajaluo, Waluya na Wakikuyu. 4 major tribal blocks. Ukiangalia na constituencies za Nairobi vile ziko. Hizo zoko pia zimedivided na tribes. But when it comes to national politics, every presidential candidate goes to woo a certain tribal bloc. They never go to who an individual. They never go to... Yes, they will have their manifesto because they have to paint a national picture. Yes, they will promise that they have to do this. But then when the politics and what they hear, like right now Gachagua anafanya nini? Tuseme kweli, hata mimi nimse like guess what? Mimi mtu like I'm happy with what's happening. I want a whole organized opposition. But you know what I also want? I want every tribe ishikane ivote as a block, alafu ishikane kwa opposition zitoe Ruto zote pamoja. Because if they don't do that, they're not gonna win. They have to, like, Waluyo vote pamoja, Wakikuyu vote pamoja, Wakamba nini, washikane, watoe Ruto. Otherwise, haitoki. And that's the only way it's going out.
Let me bring in a different school of thought, like as far as tribal politics is concerned. And these are some of the things that I say that sometimes get me in trouble. There's I think 40-something different tribes in Kenya. There's the 5 largest tribes, with the exception of the Luya. And the Luya is debatable because Luya is a conglomeration of different tribes, but for political reasons the colonial government, like lumped them together. And I would say to a certain extent also the Kalenjin, they were lumped together. But the Luya especially, because I know those different groups, the Maragolis, the Wanyores, the Bukusus, some of those languages are entirely different. Like they're not even legible. Hawaskizani.
No, tunasikizana.
But well,
sound to the same.
Well, from what some people have told me, wamenembezi languages ni tofauti kabisa.
Tunaelewana.
Okay.
Ni tu kuongele like kuna vile tunaita vitu differently but tunaelewana fiti sana.
Okay, fair enough. So I what I was gonna say, with exception of the Luyas, all these other big four tribes, let me start with the big three that are the most antagonistic when it comes to politics. Luo, Kikuyu, Kalenjin. With these three tribes, there's a lot of antagonism depending on who's on which side. So the Kambas have also been very consistent in the direction in which they vote. But when we look at the Kamba and the Luhya, those two groups are not as antagonistic when it comes to voting. Easy Tatundo, the big three, the
Ndo vodka block.
No, not only voting as a block, that's where you hear violence, that's where you hear a lot of vitriol sometimes. It's usually dominated within those three big groups. So out of those top 5 groups, kuna of course makabila nyingine tofauti. If you look at the patterns of how, like for example, we have data based on counties and based on constituencies in how people vote. Personally, I define a tribal block, and it may be defined differently, as a county maybe that votes 70%, over 70% consistently in one direction. We know some even go 80%, some even go sometimes close up to 90%. Now, that is, we can comfortably say, mathematically speaking, not morally, socially or what, but mathematically speaking. So I think if you go outside to other counties, you see a very different pattern. And I'm saying this because I know at a personal level, there's not, like emotional attachment. Like typically in these other smaller groups that we come from, there's no emotional attachment to, where uko huku ama uko huku. And that's the reason, and it also reflects in how people vote. This is where you go in these counties, you see 60-40 divide. You see, like some cases even 50-50. So I think when we talk about tribal, there's the big tribes that like that have been voting in a particular direction for the last many years, and there's an assumption that generally speaking, a Kenyan thinks first tribe when they're looking at, for example, at a presidential candidate. But from data, it shows there are so many other counties in Kenya that do not necessarily, and this is based on data, not based on, like what Ali feels or what Ali said. So we already have, like a huge chunk of Kenya that doesn't necessarily think in that direction, so whether it's because they don't have their person, running for presidency, or I can't tell, but the data shows there's a very huge chunk of Kenyans who do not think in that direction.
Can I
Yes.
paint another picture from what you just said?
Yes, go ahead.
That could be true, but I think even in those areas of Kenya, once they have Mtuwetu in government, right? So if they have a representative from the area, it doesn't even have to be actually this person unites the entire area, but because that area doesn't get as much publicity or political kuonekana sana political political airtime. So when they have one person from that area with a spotlight on them, they do coalesce behind the person.
Do you have an example?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody from Somaliland, anybody from the coast area. Like
So let's talk about Somaliland. Let's talk about Somaliland.
Wait, let me finish. Or Maasai,
Yeah.
right? They might not have someone, but if they get somebody who has a spotlight on them, and that person is decent, I also need to say that person is decent. They actually do kind of quality. So what if that person tells them, you know, this person is good for our area?
Yeah.
They are probably going to vote that way.
So
I'm not saying it might not be really trouble. It's more like they have their own kingpin.
So
they
let's
can
talk
create
data.
them. Yeah.
So let's talk data.
Disconnect yako and disconnect your kweli.
So let's talk data. Let's
Yeah.
talk data. The highest percentage of votes, for example, that the Somalis have given in one direction since after Moi actually went to Raila Odinga in
Raila,
2022.
All right, no
Yes.
problem.
So that's the highest. And you know what number it was? You know what percentage it was?
No.
It was only 70%. And that is the highest they've
Question:
ever given.
Was someone
Yeah.
was someone in Raila's camp from there?
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There was always someone in Raila's camp, even before they gave Raila that 70%.
Okay.
That was the only time. And that's the reason why I'm saying, you know, like if you just carefully go look at data,
Where
data, I'm talking about votes, you know, votes that went to
You can
Raila
go to
and votes that went to
IEBC.
Ruto. Yeah. And you go to 2017, see how they voted. They've always, you know, like, I don't know they strategically, but they've tended to divide their vote. And to me, you know, like anywhere where there's a 60-40, 65-35, it means there's a significant part of the population that is not going with that tribal narrative. And this is the case in very many parts of Kenya. If you look at that data. So when you look at that consistency of who's voting 80% in one direction, there's an overrepresentation of the big five, with exception, of course, of the Luhya.
I think what I meant by that, I said it doesn't have to be the person represents the entire tribe.
Yeah.
It's like they come, because Kenya is divided in tribes, right? Like, you know where, if I say Somali, we know where Somali is. When you say Garissa, you know where Garissa is. When you say Coast, you know where Coast is, right? So I think what I meant is, from those regions, all of them might not be of the same tribe, but if they get someone from their region who has a spotlight,
So
they
what
might,
usually happens
they
is
probably,
this,
they do vote that direction.
So what usually happens is this.
Yeah.
So, and this is why I say that these things are tribal. It's because, let's say, let's talk Somali, right? Somali, it goes into us, even Somali, Luyas, Kisis, it gets down into a subdivision. In Luyas, it becomes into sub-tribes. In Somali, into clans. In Kisi, into clans.
Okay, maybe that's a fair assessment.
So once again, once it breaks down into that, then it goes back. It breaks down into back to the list kwa village nani vile, even in a controlling vile mna vote. Unaona. So what happens is you look, you have a leader, right? Somebody who I know Ali represents this area. So maybe I'm running for presidency. He'll come and speak to Ali, right? Ali comes from a certain clan. That clan has a vast majority of people, has a vast majority control of people, right? So nikiongea na Ali, niambia Ali, wewe ukiongea na wazee kwenu watakusikia, alienda mbele za kizo wazee, right? Akienda ongea na wazee wana control maneno huko chini. Hiyo ni voting block imekuja.
Exactly.
So
that's what I meant.
What will happen is that, so that's why you usually find after elections imeisha, and ndio nilikuwa nafanya rigi na jamaa akigombana, because rigi alimwambia nilikupatia kura mingi na need 50-50 na wewe, but huyu jamaa kama kama coalitions zingine. For every coalition you make,
you
have to reward somebody.
I think whether there's a misunderstanding, hata tukienda kwa hiyo clan level, and I'll give an example. You see, for example, in the 2013 election, Najib Balala was a principal, you know, like with TNA, with Jubilee. He was a principal with Jubilee. But by then, Joho had not even become Sultan. You know, like he was popular on the ground, but he wasn't anyone compared to what Balala was. But guess what? Despite that, people still did not vote in that direction. Yakina Balala.
Who did they vote towards?
They voted towards Raila. They voted towards
Who
Raila.
was in Raila's camp?
There was no Joho at that time. Joho at that time was nothing compared. He was a no one.
But
it doesn't have.
And I'll give you another example. I want you guys to listen for the sake of understanding, not for the sake of responding. Ngoja basi nimalize, bado janielewa. What I'm trying to say, I take for example, like I look at different families, you know, because we're talking about clan. I'm looking at families. Forget about clans. A family is a smaller unit than a family is a smaller unit than a clan. So you look at families, you go to this family, unakuta hii family kuna mtu his side na his side, and that's fairly consistent. Unakuta kuna mtu yuko his side na his side. So there's not, you know, like that emotional attachment ati clan yetu tunapigia mtu fulani kura, because even within families unaona kuna mtu, you know, like yuko, you know, at the height, you know, like of when, you know, like I was, you know, pro DM na nini, there was someone within our family, you know, like an uncle of mine alikuwa katika kampi ya Balala, and that is that's a very common thing that you see. Then that's why I'm trying to say, you know, like I think Kenyans need to stop assuming that ni makabila zote wakifikiria siasa wanafikiria in terms of tribe, in terms of clan, in terms of sub-tribe. In terms of
I think you're misunderstanding us.
Hapa kwa conversation. Again, turudi kwa nuances, right? And each tribe will have its own nuance. But at the end of the day, there's still tribalism that affects how we vote. At the end of the day, once how the math is done in tribes. The greater math is done in tribes. It is a math that is considered that if you get kura za Murima, upate kura za Wakalenjin, upate kura za Waluya, upate kura za Mombasa, umeshinda na kitu. Unaona? So there's still that connotation of kuna votes. And that is why you see we have some politicians who on the surface wanakanga not so appealing, but hawatawahi kuwa dropped because of how they can mobilize people. Hiyo kwenda kupiga debe kwa ground kuleta watu pamoja wapige kura pamoja, hiyo ndo power yao. Na watu they become an asset in your team. Like kama huu dem ameingia Linda Mwananchi leo, Aisha Jumwa. He's a very uncouth person. But mazole dem anajua kutafuta kura. Unaona? Like she's an asset and then she's not an asset. Like aesthetically pleasing, but kwa ground anajua kufanya kazi. Basically, yes, people will take care of their day-to-day.
Okay.
But also people will take care of their own person.
Okay, Ruth.
That's the reality of Kenya.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely the tribal piece, especially on the bigger groups, right? The bigger tribes, right?
And that's what I was trying to.
But I think what at least what I'm trying to explain is when we go beyond those major groups, then it becomes about who can mobilize a particular section of Kenya, right? So it might not be all tribal, But if people will listen, if people on the ground will listen to Njoho, then Njoho becomes the kingpin for that area. It doesn't even have to be. I need you to like move it from tribal to like he can get people out to vote his direction, right? Then he becomes an asset. You move to whatever area of Kenya. If they know that if we talk to Ali can get us 60%. We don't need the entire 70, 80, 90. We just need 65 or even 55. Just something to get us over the line, right?
Yes.
Then you become an asset.
Yes, but
so
what I'm saying,
it might evolve from tribal.
Yeah.
But it's tribal in the sense that it's from the same
But
area.
what I'm saying, you know, like if those mobilizers cannot garner, you know, like maybe more than 65, maybe they can only garner 60 to 65% within an area of where there's a group of cohesive people. It's an indication that as great as they are in mobilization, they are not able to garner, you know, like 90% of the people, which also tells you that that population right there, you know, like there's a good number of them whose thinking process when it comes to politics is not tribal.
I agree with you. I think we agree on that
piece.
Yes,
and that's what, you know, like I'm trying to say, whereby like mimi hata kama niko na, you know, like as much as I was in you know, like I've been in ODM for a very, very long time, you know, and people would think my entire clan, you know, like is in ODM. There was a very significant part, you know, like that was always on a different side. And I think that's a part where I want to say we have to be a little bit nuanced in our thinking in as far as, you know, like where tribalism is. And to end tribalism, I think the people who have the heaviest responsibility, and in Kenya we like this all aboveism thing, where we tend to say, oh, everyone is corrupt, or everyone is a thief, or everyone is a tribalist. And me, I don't believe in that. There's always a certain segment that maybe has a higher responsibility, because if this problem is killed from up there, any remnants of it that were coming from these other different groups, they will completely not exist. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak. We have beat down this topic. We have talked about Sifuna. Where
yes.
is Sifuna?
100%.
Oh,
I think
100%. Okay.
we need to get to finish listening to that audio, because I think she does bring up the reason why she doesn't believe it's tribal.
Okay,
all right. We do need to.
Okay, let's go back to the audio.
That.
From a, you know, quote unquote removed perspective, I feel like if you look at these factors deeply, you'll find that all these factors do is just mask the desperation that a majority of Kenyans experience in their day-to-day, right? I mean, yes, we vote based on our communities. We vote based on what you've been told by a specific politician and all that. But inside these communities, there are individuals, and each of these individuals has their own needs, right? So what am I really talking about? I'm saying a Mama Mboga will vote for the person who says unga will go, you know, from 200 bob to 50 bob. And the guy is going to vote for a person who says diesel will go back to 100 bob a liter, right? They don't care about much else. They're too busy working. They don't have time to sit and dissect. They're desperate, and they want to hear. They want to listen to the politicians who will tell them what they want to hear, right? So I'm saying Kenyans, we vote based on survival of the self. We're individualistic like that. So I think when y'all are discussing these issues, pay attention to the fact that, you know, in Kenya and honestly Africa as a whole, like I genuinely believe that people will, at the end of the day, people will vote for who benefits them on a personal level, and that equals desperation. They're desperate. They vote that way because it's a cry for help for them. even if it means they're lying to themselves and, they're believing that a leader who was a thief and what now wants a political seat, they're doing it because they're desperate that this individual who's, they're bantering and promising them the world will keep that promise for once, kwa sababu ni mtu wao, right? Think about these comedians that return into politicians, people like, I can't think of one right now, but before they became people like Jalango, someone like Jalango, he was an ordinary mwananchi, he was a hustler. He wasn't wealthy by any means. He came across wealth once he became a politician. But why did people vote for him? Because they saw themselves in him. And so they were desperate enough to believe that he understood their plight.
Okay. All right. So, like a lot of points, like that are coming in there in terms of especially understanding people's choices in terms of desperation, because most of us who make judgment have not lived in that desperation. And especially when you think of people who've come to the diaspora, even people who came from, not so wealthy, but let me say poor backgrounds, and I will say it's very few. A lot of people like his story, nimetoka mbali kutoka Rift Valley mpaka Spring Valley, but the reality is anyone who was able to afford a ticket to come to the US, like they had some connections. Whether ni mchango ama nini, they had people who are connected enough to be able to get here. So I think, like even people who were slightly poor and came here, they came here when they were very young, for a majority, maybe after high school or slightly after high school. There's a critical age between, I think, 35 to around 50, whereby kama umeishi Kenya within that age, na umesota, because at a younger age, they still kuna hope bado ya vitu zitafunguka. But now when you're in that age, maybe you even have teenage kids and things are just not opening up. There's a certain level of desperation people get to that we don't understand. Ruth.
No, you're right. And I think that is what I see in Kenya. I really do try to talk to the people I interact with, at Uber drivers, right? Like I want to know, how did you get here? And some are doing very well, especially this gentleman I met who was driving an electric vehicle. These ones are actually really, really amazed me. I want to know, like, how you survive in this Kenyan heat or whatever with an electric vehicle. But even how they got to get the car, I feel like that is a different class. The Uber driver who is really trying to make it is the chap guys, right?
The small cars.
The small cars, And the reason why they even get mad at you when Uber gives you these discounts is because Uber will pay them, but they're supposed to pay Uber. So every time they get cash from customers, the money is not that much that they don't pay Uber their cut. They don't pay. I don't know. Have you ever been in Uber and somebody's like, anaenda kwa mafuta 500 shillings?
Oh, yeah.
Tutafika wapi na hii mafuta, But that is just to get them to the next, to the next person. Next stop, next person, right? And so they become desperate. And so in that, even staying or living amongst them can be stressful because to them it's survival. Umepewa discount na Uber means I don't get anything. Because guess what? Uber first would take their card that have not been given them.
Yeah.
Right? Or ulipe na kadi. Like, iyo pesa siona. So they are mad at you because they can see you. They can see Uber. Uber is in an office somewhere, right? So you become the target of their anger. Mm-hmm. And there's that desperation is so much. So when someone comes and says, let's lower diesel or petrol to an amount that, okay, you know what, I can survive a day with you being my power, right? And during campaign, unapewa kazi, for this, leo nitakupatia gig. You're the one carrying people today, right? Utanipeleka watu pale. So alafu anapea watu wengine kadhaa. They would be desperate enough to be like, okay, I'll work with this person, right? And so, can you imagine somebody in between 35 and 50, they probably have a family. They are paying black tax because black tax is like heavy in Kenya. It doesn't matter where you are. There's another lady. She's the one who's been showing me real estate in Kenya. So she's a realtor actually. She told me she makes 50,000 gross
in a month.
50,000
in terms of
shillings.
commissions, or
no, that's her salary.
Oh, okay. So she doesn't work on commissions. She's salaried.
And then I think she gets a 1%
Okay.
of the commission when she sells.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So she started a thing on the side because that doesn't fully.
It doesn't. Yeah.
It doesn't
cut
pay
it,
her.
Yeah.
And with that amount of money she's telling me, she supports her mom. She pays half of her mom's rent. So I'm sitting there, I'm listening to her, and I'm like, how are you surviving? Because like I don't even know where to start with that. So the desperation is there. I totally see it. The 35 to 50, it's even more because you have a family to support. And so mimi nimesomewa and I'm like, I did not know. Kambia mbona Leah usifanye hivyo tena. And I'm like, I probably would do it again because I pay Uber on a card, right? So I decided to not do tap. Guess what? Then I'm not giving them the job.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to where I can pay with a card because I
Chap wakubali card.
No.
80% of the time they won't come.
They do not. They want cash.
They'll take the trip, and then when they figure out that it's a card, they won't come.
Yeah, because in Mombasa kuna mpaka tuk-tuk. I saw mpaka Uber
yes,
tuk-tuk.
I saw that. And Mombasa was very interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because when you go out, a tuk-tuk is right there even before. It's faster than the app.
The one in the app, yeah. Yeah. No, it's so I think there's that. Like it's, and I think that's what we're saying. I think when she says there's desperation.
Yeah.
Meet that everyday Kenyan. That tap guy was really mad at you because you use a card. Ama, you had a big discount from Uber. Sometimes, like, I think I land in Kenya and I'm getting 40%. My sisters ask me, like, wewe na Uber mko na relationship ngapi gani? Because I get some crazy discounts. I'm like, this is not. Even I'm feeling ashamed paying 100 shillings.
Because you're using it a lot. When you use it a lot is when those discounts are, like pushed towards you. So because they don't want you to go to using other apps. So that's why they would rather you use.
But you see, sometimes it's so much. Like I feel bad. Like so.
Almost doesn't.
On top of paying, I actually tip them because I'm like, I tip them at least in empathia the full amount of the trip, right? So because someone will tell you, your pesa imeenda kwa Uber haitakuja sababu sijawalipa kati yao in like a week or two.
Correct. Yeah. And electronic payments, 9 times out of 10, they don't get to see them unless they're the owner operator. And most of the Uber drivers
are not
owner operators.
The cars are on loan.
So there's someone who's getting the cut.
They're paying rent to somebody.
Yes.
Oof.
Yes.
Okay.
So
that is tough.
The card on file, or should I say the payment account, goes to the owner of the vehicle, which means any electronic payments go to
directly,
the owner. Yeah. And then the owner doesn't count them towards the weekly take.
Okay.
I get what Ruth is saying, right? And yes, it does. And that is why I said the two things she says can actually coexist. We can say that we vote on tribal lines, and we also do look at whose promise looks likely to affect me the most. Because apart even from just that hustler thing, right? Remember the Tunaenda Canaan wave, right? What are the promises of what walikuwa kienda Canaan? Remember the free education ya Kibaki, ya NAC, ya watoto. So there are things whereby you see people look at it, parents look at it and consider that, okay, does it tick any of the boxes I prefer? Yes. Does it tick both my boxes? Yes. Makes it easier for you to vote, right? Because najua manifesto ya Raila inaingiana na jina yangu. Hapo hata sina wasiwasi, watu wezi sema mimi ni ukabila. So those two things can exist. We can have a thing whereby there are people who vote using those two criteria. There are people who vote using each one of those criteria. But at the end of the day, I think to be a political analyst in Kenya, you have to understand the dance between manipulating poverty and manipulating tribal lines to get the best out of what you want.
Okay. Yeah. So a couple of comments here are coming on Facebook. I have Asheke was saying let me see. Let me start. Actually, Esther is saying, getting you loud and clear from Shimalavandu on a rainy dawn. Karibu sana, Esther. And then Washeke was saying, please send rain my way. It's hot and very dry where I am. And then Washeke's father saying, and imagine that 50K is gross before Shisha, NSSF, pay as you earn, etc. Yeah, this is, I know. And then Washeke says that desperation is why we have 10 kiosks lining the streets, all selling the same things. So this is actually very
Kila
sad.
mtu akona side hustle.
Yeah. So this is actually
Everybody
because the
makes-
salaries
yes.
cannot make
Everybody has a side hustle.
yeah. So things have been getting tough, and then Felista Ndutapa anasema tuned in from Mombasani. Karibu sana Felista, tell us what's going down.
Felista
Yeah.
amekuwa millionaire siku hizi. Anazurura sana.
Anazurura sana. She's all over the place.
Unajua niliona juzi ameongeza weight nikamwambia mshahara itakata.
Aya, sawa Felista, karibu sana, thank you so much. Let us know, the blind spots that diasporans have on Kenyan politics. You edit our show, you listen to us, so tell us, even in some of the things that we are saying, where do you feel like we have blind spots or things that we do not know, exactly what we are talking about. And then of course pia pa YouTube watu wamenyamaza sana leo. There was a guy called Luanda Magere 001 anasema ukabila everywhere hadi majuu, even from people who studied in Ivy League schools. The opium of tribalism is the swara. Well, ask the Bay Area California rappers about us. Okay. Aya, sawa Luanda, karibu sana. So now, because hii topic yani really took double the time it was supposed to take, I think we want to go to the man of the man in the middle, the man of the moment. That's Edwin Sifuna, because he's been, on the news. There's been a lot of hype surrounding him, and Ruth here, just right here on the show, acknowledged that she supports him 100%. That is a very strong statement, Ruth. More than 1 year to the election. Yeah. So tell us, what is it that has attracted you to Sifuna to the point that more than 1 year to the election, you're saying you support him 100%. Yet, kuna Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. I don't think you like what you said, but anyway, that's a story for another day.
You don't think?
No.
I like what you said.
No, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yeah, might not like what I said.
It's okay. She's not getting it.
He's not. No, I got it.
Yeah.
After explaining, I got it.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I am more Sifuna than any other person is because I think Kenya is ready for, not someone who is trying to say, Kenya is ready for new blood, right? Because I think the foundation has been laid. And Sifuna is saying, no, we want the rule of law. We have the constitution. We just need to follow the constitution, right? And reduce some of these taxes from people. That is not tax heavy to everybody, right? So he has some points is shared that I believe, and I think more than anything else, this is where I am talking as a diaspora, not a Kenyan, right? There's aspirational politics that I think the person who really embodied that was Obama. I don't think Obama came with new things. He just came and said, we can be better with what we have. And he worked towards that. I think that's what I'm saying with Sifuna, saying like, we already have a foundation. We can just be better with what we have. You know, follow the law, curb corruption, and stop overtaxing people. So the reason why I'm for Sifuna, and wherever he leads us, like I think I have never. Okay, probably I have. There's Obama that I followed wherever he went. That's because Kenyan politics is different. So wherever Sifuna goes, I'd of course want to know exactly why are you going there. Why are you teaming up with those people? But if his explanations are still on the points that he's made, I will follow what he says, right? Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not going to be critical. I will be critical, but I think he's brought up that aspirational politics that we can be better with what we have. Yes, we can. We can be better, and I think there's that. For me, there's that mirror of something I've already lived, and I can see it in Kenya. And I think the other thing is people are talking about. It's everything Obama used to face. Honestly, like you're young, you don't have the experience of executive and all that stuff. But he ended up being one of the best presidents this country has ever had, right? Mm-hmm. Because that was his job, executive, to make calls and to make calls and make decisions and be bold in moving forward on some of the things that we need to do. That is the leadership we need.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. There was a question that was coming from Washeke, and she was asking, was Lynn Ngugi's criticism fair? Criticism of Sifuna, and we are gonna go to that. I'm gonna read it later. Okay. But before I get to Lynn Ngugi's criticism, Mika to Lisa, we first know. Let me start with Omoshia before I go to Mika, because Mika is ready to go. Wewe ni Sifuna? There's a pause. There's a pause. A long one. A very long one.
I think for me right now, it's still too early to tell.
So wewe ni nani right now?
For me right now, it's still too early to tell.
So if elections were to be held next week, yes, okay.
I'll actually vote for Kasongo.
Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, fair enough.
Why? I want to know why.
Wewe ni Kasongo. Okay,
why?
So why?
I give my why. Why?
Yeah.
Because of development that I see in our area that had been stifled.
Okay.
When did the development start?
In his term.
At what point exactly?
No. For us, I'm talking about for us where I come from. I'm not talking about.
No, but ilikuwa gazetted na Uhuru.
Ngoja Omosh.
We're listening to Omosh.
All these things about Uhuru gazetting, sijui, I don't know. Me, I know that we now have a road. We now have electricity. Hopefully we'll get water.
So at what point approximately, because Ruto came into power in 2022, approximately at what point did you start noticing that Kasongo is actually bringing development to our area?
For me, it was 2023. 2023. Actually, sorry, wait. 24, I was home. So 2023, there was talk. I actually saw the road and I used it in 24.
Okay, after the
almost groundbreaking ilianza 2023.
2023.
Actually, 2023.
No,
2020.
Kwetu,
yeah,
it was when was groundbreaking? Was 23.
But
it was actually 24.
Wacha Omosha jitetea hapa.
24.
Wewe Mika unamsaidia sana.
Mimi naongea my area. I don't know about anyone else's area. Me, I'm talking about my area. The road that I used to go to Shags.
Okay. Now,
which was taking me 45 minutes. Now it's taking 7 minutes.
kitu nanijamisha ni juu unafanya minus politics, ni kama ujue development ufanyika huko kwetu.
Hapana, lakini Mika, hii ni position ya Omos.
I don't know anything about development yenyu. Me, I'm saying development yetu on Rusinga Island. I can speak for Rusinga Island.
Rusinga Island ni island iko tu like Rusinga ina exist tu peke yake.
Mika,
but that's where I come from. So when you say ina exist peke, you want me to come to your area so that I can see what's happening there and compare?
Same area yangu nasema angalia from the exist like.
Okay, Mika.
Anyway,
Mika, my stance is my stance. That's where it stands at this point.
Mimi, of course, people already know. Mimi, I can never be Ruto. Ata nani and kwe running mate wake. But I have some empathy for people in Luo Nyanza, and I'll tell you why. I cannot be very angry at them. We've been on the same political side for over 20-ish. Since 2005, Orange Banana. That is over 20-something years. Let's say over 20 years. We've been on the same camp. So I'm trying to understand, like what's happening, like that they're all now shifting towards Kasongo. And there's one thing that I'm going to say, like... my view is that for the longest time, people in Luo Nyanza, like have been fighting for Kenya, and they've never had an opportunity to prioritize local issues. So I think this is the first time in a very long time now, like going back even before 2005, starting 1992, when Jaramogi was a presidential candidate. They've been fighting for Kenya. So I think it's a very bad direction they're going towards Kasongo. But again, like these are some of those local things that that you cannot necessarily talk about. Before we go to Mika, because I think we kind of know yeye ni nani, but
do you? I don't know.
No, no.
I can't wait.
Secretly, you know. But I will tell you why. Like I've been in a waiting game for a very long time. But I think with Sifuna, there's something that I've talked about for a long time, in the sense that Kenyans love promises. They love manifestos. Tutatenga, tutafanya, tuta. They love those. They love those shiny things. And the reason why we ended up with Uhuru and Ruto is because of people who are very good at making, like these lofty promises. Anyone can do that. Anyone can promise you they'll give you everything. But we have done a very poor job in focusing on the background. Okay, this guy is telling us he will end corruption. What is his background with corruption? We've not been doing a very good job in doing that. This guy has told us he will do this and he will do that. What is his background? What has he done, like in this history of his that we know, what have we done? And that's a reason why I see a very bright opportunity with Sifuna. Like he's clean. Not that he's not had an opportunity to get into these corrupt deals he has. People were making fun of his home, and I was so happy, like when I saw that, I was like, I want more people to make fun of this, because now people are going to understand this all aboveism. Not all these politicians are the same. So right now it may still be a bit early, but I have to say, that I'm trending towards Sifuna. And to me it's not more of like what can he promise, what qualifications does he have, what can he do, but to me it's a promise of what he represents is really what will take us over the board. So before we go to Lingugi's comment, which Washeke wants Ruth to tell us whether she thinks it's fair, and Washeke also tell us whether you think it's fair. Let's go to Mika. Mika, wewe ni nani? Are you Kasongo?
Mimi ni Sifuna.
Okay. Okay.
But
I wanted to hear that. I wanted to hear that.
No.
Yeah?
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
Mimi, for me, I really don't care who's going to be running on that seat. Right? Mimi, all I want is a united opposition against Kasongo.
Yes.
I want Kasongo
More than
out.
anything else.
Out. Inje. Right? Unajua, as much as tunaambiwa sijui nini development. Yes, kuna kudandia developments, right? Developments za Kasongo mpya ni study. Na hii barabara njaribu kutengeneza sahihi, anajaribu kutengenezewa Kikuyu. Onesha nimetengeneza barabara ya Narok Mau Summit. Right? Everything else kuanzia Dongo Kundu yenye alienda kufungua juzi hiyo bridge ya kwenda South Coast. Hizo ndio zilikuwa vitu za Uhuru. Like anyway, Uhuru legacy yake ilikuwa most on infrastructure than anything else. There's no president in Kenya who made more infrastructure in Kenya than Uhuru. And that's why this guy is spilling over. Remember SGR ilikuwa ya Kibaki, but Uhuru ndo aliifungua. Watu wakapia Uhuru applaud it, but watu wakampigania wakamwambia kuwa yake, ndo akasema watch me now and do this. And there's a reason why this idiot is insisting in affordable houses. Baka anaenda kutengeneza affordable houses ushago. Like mimi niache boma yetu free niende kulipa nyumba 3 million yenye zina. Like how smart are you to do that? Like unajua kuna vitu ukiangalia hivi unafikiria unajiambia as much as you want to build a legacy that useme wendo ulifanya infrastructure. Unajua nini? Sawa, endo to slums kwa cities uweke infrastructure na wewe. Na infrastructure ina make sewage iko inafanya, maji inafanya, kuna stima. Nisigeuke tu zikuwe vertical slums. You know, you can replace mabati slums with vertical slums very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Nisigeuke kwa tu at hizi ni vertical slums sasa zimekuja zimepapa.
Yeah.
So for me, honestly, I will tell you the one thing. I remember the first time when Linda Mwananchi started out. And I told you, after the first rally nikakwambia, even though ODM imededi. Remember when we had that conversation and I told you, ukaniambia labda ni negotiation tactics, nikakwambia this is how it's dead. And everybody else who's not from Luo Nyanza will leave ODM. Kila mtu mwingine. You've had ODM fronting. Now they're desperate. Wamona Sifuna amekuwa kelele. Wakasema let's counter it the way we know. Tutafute Mluya. Wameanza kufront Oparanya. Oparanya was never spoken about kukua nini. VP. Ilikuwa ni Joho ama watafute mtu wa Luo Nyanza ujama mjingo wa finance. Alituanga nani huu mwenye wangana kuja
there is no way. Mbadi even if his own people won't vote for him.
Mbadi.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the thing was, but the thing was like they give somebody one of the
Now simsahau Joho pia yuko kwa VIP stakes.
No, yeah, but guess what?
Yeah.
Joho ain't getting anything hapo.
And let me tell you,
Joho is not a good.
If Joho is not selected VP, guess what?
And
Joho atakuwa Sifuna. And wait.
Anatoka.
Yeah, atatoka.
Ali nimekwambia it's simple as this.
Yeah.
ODM itabaki Luo Nyanza na UDA. Basically what's happening in Central. Unaona vile Central wana change from yellow to lime green.
Yes.
Nyanza wana change from orange
to yellow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Raya, sawa. So, before we read Lynn Ngugi's comment, Esther Mulusa anasema diasporans tend to be hegemonic in their political leanings. Esther. Anasema it's not only Kenyan diasporans, but universally, people in the diaspora follow their tribal clusters. That's why politicians run to the diaspora for funding, even though they lock us out of the political process. I remember some Kenyan voting for Trump when he ran against Obama. When did Trump run against Obama? I don't remember that.
It's okay.
I am not saying these deep-seated views run across the board, but people in the mother country are more flexible than those who leave their homes for foreign lands. And then Stephen JJ anasema, Ruto home. I will vote for Sifuna tomorrow. The change we need, a young, vibrant leader who can bring the change we need. Na mimi ni Mjaluo. Okay, and then hapa we have this is Tony anasema might the development is telling Omosh, might the development be an enticement for votes from Luo Nyanza? And then hapa Edag anasema for young doctors dust is constant. Reason people political apathy on the part of our predecessors. While others were doing the 2010 thing, medics were seated in their laurels. Sifuna all the way. And then Tony anasema, anamwambia Omosh, if you have even been scammed in the streets of Nairobi, you will know Ruto is a con. The development in Nyanza is part of his long con to inherit Baba's political base. All right. So, and everyone else who's tuned in, weka comments hapo chini. Tell us kama wewe ni Sifuna. Tell us kama wewe ni Ruto. Tell us kama wewe ni nani, so that we can know where people, and give us reasons why you support that direction. Okay, so I want to go to Lin Ngugi's comment, which Washeke was asking. Now, Washeke, you've not give us, and we want to wait to hear your answer on whether you think Lin Ngugi's criticism of Sifuna was fair. So this is what Lin Ngugi said. And Lin Ngugi, for those who don't know, she's a journalist who used to work for Tuko. She has her own page. You can find her on YouTube, has very good content, amazing content, like I love Lin Ngugi. I listen to her content. But let's see if we agree with what she said. So Lin Ngugi says, let's address the elephant in the room, because I feel like many people don't want to have this conversation. So the plan is to vote for Sifuna simply because he can help get Ruto out. As long as Ruto is gone, then we are good. Haven't we seen this? Haven't we been here before? Isn't that exactly how Ruto benefited from the anger against Uhuru and Raila? And before that, wasn't Uhuru's victory also driven in part by a wave of sympathy over ICC cases and the feeling among many supporters that it was time to stand with him and push back against those they believed were targeting him? Look at how Uhuru's administrations left this country. Haven't we already seen where voting out of anger or emotion instead of demanding better leadership leaves the country? The next election cannot just be about who is most likely to defeat Ruto. It has to be about who has a clear plan to deal with corruption, protect the constitution, and abductions and extrajudicial killings, fix our broken healthcare system, reform education, create jobs, reduce the cost of living, tackle public debt, restore independent institutions, and ensure there is real accountability in government. I understand the thinking. The common enemy is Ruto. The enemy of my enemy quickly becomes a friend. But I refuse to believe that after everything this country has been through, Kenyans are ready to settle for people with serious questions hanging over them simply because they are the fastest route to removing one man from power. A perfect example, Aisha Jumo. We cannot keep voting against someone. At some point, we have to start voting for something. Otherwise, we'll keep changing faces while the system that keeps failing Kenyans remains exactly the same. I'm going to start with Ruth, and then I'll go to Mika.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Mika. I know. That's why I had to calm you down kidogo. I had to, we know when ni Sifuna. But pia mi ni Sifuna. So, wacha tumsikize Ruth kwanza, and then we are going to come to you. Ruth, was this criticism that Lin Ngugi made of Sifuna fair?
No.
Okay, and why do you say
it
that?
wasn't? Because I think she is comparing Sifuna to what has been, and actually some of the things she's saying that we need to see in the new leader at the positions Sifuna is already standing on, right? So some of the things is protecting the constitutional rights is very big about that. Reducing the cost of living is talked about that. Strengthening accountability, fighting corruption, and increasing citizen participation in governance. So think, like, even when he's doing this tour, to say that before he start owning up that he is running, or he might be running, he said, I'm doing the tour to listen to people, right? So that is kind of having the citizens participate. So I think she missed the mark in saying that we're looking for somebody who has a better plan on this. I think we are past the point of talking about we need a plan. The plan is that we know what we need to do, right? And I think we have someone who is saying, we know what we need to do. I'm here to do that, right? So I think the manifestos we've had from former candidate or former president, I think he's coming on to say, he's not even trying to say like nitawatengenezea nitafanya. No, he's not saying that. No.
Tutatenga.
Bilioni
MC
moja ya
tutatenga.
uongo.
Yeah.
No, he's not saying any of that.
Yeah.
He's saying we have the things that we need to do. Kenya can be better if we protected constitutional rights. No killings of people. No, we fight corruption. We reduce the cost of living. That's a big one in Kenya right now, right? And he said, like, one of the things he will remove the house and the housing,
the levies,
the levies, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like there's no plan. It is there. It's someone who's saying we will do it. And one thing I'll say about Sifuna, he has the will to actually follow through on his rhetoric, like what he says. He doesn't, okay, he speaks, and I think I like that about him. You know, like he will challenge you on the thing, like why can we not do that? And we need a leader who is actually saying, why not? We've been talking about these things, why not do it?
Yeah.
And so comparing him to Uhuru and to, who was the other person she compared him to?
Ruto
and Uhuru.
Aisha Jumwa was also mentioned.
Also, I think the fact that he's saying that Uhuru came in because we were trying to prevent him from the ICC thing.
No, that's
totally,
a lie.
Totally a wrong comparison. Like we have someone who is had no history of corruption to his name. Against Uhuru, against Ruto. These people had track records before they became where they were. So that is not a fair comparison. I have to say that. So it was not fair.
Okay.
Also, I think we've not... do you guys remember 2007 Obama came on and were like,
when
really?
He became a senator?
No, or when he announced.
Oh, when he announced to the president.
After the convention?
Yeah.
That convention speech was it.
Yeah, no, convention speech was 2004.
That's all 4 or 7 is when he announced he was running, right?
Actually, he was nowhere. He was
nowhere, right?
And he just become an Illinois senator.
Yeah, I think this is that moment for Sifuna, because like everything people said about him, it's where he is. Like you don't have executive experience. You're young. What have you done? What's your track record? You've only been a senator for, like, it was a one time, like the first time senator, if I remember, right?
This is his first term.
There's so many similarities, and I like the boldness with which he's moving on, and I like the fact that it's progressive. You know, before I say anything else, as a woman, there's something he said. He was being interviewed yesterday by this journalist, I forget her name.
Yvonne Okwara?
No, it was walikuwa wamesimama mahali maybe kwa ofisi yake or somewhere.
Okay.
And he was asked about, because we rarely see Sifuna's wife. So akaulizwa, you know, would we see her as you know, because he's very protective of his family, would we be seeing her as first lady? And this is said, no, my wife would decide for herself what she wants to do. I don't tell her what to do. Right?
Love that, yeah.
Now, that is a huge thing culturally in Kenya, because women are to be told what to do. And I think that progressiveness of like women can decide for themselves what they want to do. And he said she has her own courses. She's more educated than me. She can choose whatever she wants to do for herself.
Yeah.
Right? For me, that progressiveness is needed in Kenya. There are some cultural barriers we need to break.
Okay. All right. Mika, Lynn Ngugi's statement.
Actually, Ruth has handled it very well. Like, Ruth has broken it pretty well on what I was going to say. Because for me, I was going to break it down on everything that she had tried to put there as saying that we are not happening. Like, we've had, let's go back to when Linda Mwananchi started out, right?
Yeah.
When I was telling you this is something that's going to break good here. Because what happened was, like, when they broke out the first time, ilianzia Busia, ile rally yao ya Busia.
Yeah.
Sivyo? Na waliambia watu nini? Waliambia watu, sisi baba alituambia tuchunge hii na hii na hii na hii na hii. Katiba imesema hivi na hivi na hivi na hivi. Na watu ndio wakawapatia hiyo jina Linda Mwananchi. Like, it was a generic growth like kama ni ya Gen Z, ilikuwa rally, right? Most people say homecoming ya Sifuna ilikuwa ya juzi. I think ilikuwa Busia. Vile hiyo rally ya kwanza ilianza.
What about Kitengela? Kitengela ilikuwa after Busia?
Ilikuwa after Busia, yes.
Okay.
Busia was the first Linda Mwananchi rally.
Yeah. Okay.
That is where they first broke out.
Yeah.
And from there, every time they will go anywhere, they talk about, they talk to people, they do people. Look at, after work, these guys are lawyers. Sifuna na Babu Shinda, daily wakitoa watu kotini, watu wameshikwa maandamano, sijui wamefanya nini, sijui wamefanya nini, like, na kina Faith Odhiambo, like, they wanalinda mwananchi ya ukweli. Wanaingia kwa ground yao ikuangi ya pesa, ground yao kwa kusaidia watu na vitu za ukweli, tangible things that actually make people want to happen. And it's gotten to a point whereby ye mwenyewe anakuambia sisi hatuna haja ya manifesto, tunajua vitu haziwaka. Vitu haziwaka ni A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Zinaweza work through, tukikata hii pesa hapa, tukireduce pesa tufanye hivi, tukikata kufanya hivi, tukidu hivi. And then the one thing that I like about him, right, is he is not afraid to ask for help from experts on things that he does not understand.
Absolutely. That's big.
Yes.
That's very big,
Right?
you know, like especially whenever we're interviewing like for leadership positions, that is one big thing as a leader.
Hata si yeye pekee, the same thing with Babu, the same thing with Kina, like, and then the egos. Those guys are big egos and they've all brought them down.
Yeah, they've checked them.
Yeah, they've checked them.
Yes, very notable.
Yeah.
Very notable.
All checked them. And they're organized.
They organize, they speak as one, they move as one. When they engage to people, they engage as one. And I want to point something else to people that people have not noticed. Kuja kwa Gachagua, and you'll notice it's the same thing happening. One agenda, one voice, egos tamed down, working as a unit.
I have a problem with Gachagua though.
No,
but
Gachagua, but angalia DCP vile inafanya kazi.
Yes, no, I agree. You know, like I agree.
Look at how DCP is working.
I agree. And one thing I totally get, you know, like I totally understand, and that the one thing that people never understood about Baba is that Baba was a practical person. You know, he was like, you know, like we can choose to go the pure direction and get nothing achieved. We have a journey of, let's say, 1,000 steps, but we can choose the pure direction, take 0 steps, or we can choose, you know, to work with a team of people that's gonna get us to get a number of seats or to win, and we're gonna get at least to 500 steps, you know. And there's a saying of half loaf is better than no bread. And in fact, you know, like when you think about that, many decisions Baba made, you know, like over time, there's an accumulation of these decisions are what led to the new constitution we have, to devolution and so many things that we have. Now back to Lingugi. I'm a very big fan of
Ali, before
Yes.
you, I was just about to finish my point.
Yes,
and
go ahead.
On that, and that's where I was coming, right? And that's where I was coming when I brought in DCP, and that's where I was coming in is like, the one thing that most people have not noticed right now is that there's an appetite in the country. And that appetite is so huge on how do we get rid of this one thing that's stopping us. Remember, there have been ways on how the government is actually showing deliberately they want to steal the elections. And these are the people are actually knowing that the only way we're going to beat these guys going through solidarity and working together. And as Alia said, it gets to a point where you have to make sacrifices. You'll have to get in bed with people who don't look pleasing to you aesthetically.
Yes.
But they can rally the vote and bring the vote outside there. Most people look at DCP and Gachagua and explain blah, blah, blah. Gachagua is not going to run for president. We all know that. He has no appetite for that. He doesn't want to put himself in.
He's been impeached. He can't.
He can through a technicality.
With a technicality, he can.
With the technicality, he can. But then, even if he wins, it's going to be a long court battle.
Yeah.
That even he himself doesn't want to put himself through that.
But let's assume that he can't run. You know, like, and I really want to.
He can't run. He can't run. There's somebody in that coalition that I tell people to look at. Look at Medu. he will be the person they're going to present him as their
Candidate.
either
As
as
their
their
running
deputy,
mate.
as their deputy to whoever's going to be running.
Now,
I think
Mika,
I think that's the route they're going to do.
we are gonna get to that, but before that, I want to deconstruct what Lingugi said, and this is mainly because, first of all, I'm a very big fan of Lingugi.
She's
And
amazing.
She's very amazing, and the work that she's done, she has a lot of courage.
Yeah.
And I really don't know, what got into her to make a post like this. And maybe I'm willing to listen to her to explain
Brown envelope.
herself. But here is a deal.
I don't think so.
I don't think
everybody's taking them left, right, and center.
Yeah.
So why not her?
I mean,
don't think
of
so.
course we don't know, but I don't
I'm
think
just saying.
she doesn't sound like
I'm
those
just
brown
saying.
envelopes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
That
but
post
let's
doesn't sound like her.
But
it doesn't sound
probably-
like her.
but probably-
But I want us to go frame by frame.
Okay.
To deconstruct it. Because she says let's address the elephant in the room, because I feel like many people don't want to have this conversation. First of all, right there at the beginning, everyone wants to have this conversation. So already that beginning right there, everyone wants to have this conversation because we've been having it.
I want to
Now,
laugh. This is how we read the Bible. Go on.
Yes. So yes, we are deconstructing it. Hata kama ni Bible
Line by
study ama
line.
Quran study.
Yeah.
Anasema the plan is to vote for Sifuna simply because he can help get Ruto out. Let's technically look at that statement.
Yeah.
By the way, sisi ndio Sifuna.
Yeah.
This is something very recent.
Yeah.
It's something very recent, and Sifuna is still in the process of building his base. There are people who are actually ahead of him in running, for president. So already this right here it's not an accurate statement, because it's saying so plan is to vote for Sifuna simply because he can help Ruto get Ruto
doesn't even
out.
have a party
He
yet.
was never even in the conversation. Sifuna was never even in the conversation. This is something very recent.
Okay.
So let's continue.
Yeah.
But also, why not? But go on.
As long as Ruto is gone, then we are good. Haven't we been here before? So, okay, as long as Ruto is gone, then we are good. Haven't we been? Who
No,
has
we
been
haven't.
here before?
No, we haven't.
And that's what I'm gonna. Who has been here before? Here's my problem. I think the people, and I'm saying this, I don't know who Lingugi voted for. She's been really hard on the Ruto government. I can't really quite remember on the Uhuru government. But I think the people who are most annoyed...
No, she was very subtle then.
Yeah.
She
The
was not-
people who are angriest are people who voted for Uhuru twice, and then they voted for Ruto. Those are the angriest people, and it's fair enough.
They are so
And
angry.
it is fair
They are
enough.
really,
It is
really
fair
angry.
enough, but I just hope that they learn their lesson. But now it's kind of like
Three times
she's
wrong.
trying.
I don't think so.
It's
Three
like,
times wrong.
No, but Angalia, she's trying to flip this and saying, as long as Ruto is gone, then we are good. Haven't we been here before? Isn't that exactly how Ruto benefited from the anger against Uhuru and Raila? But why are we talking about how Ruto benefited? And Ruto had a history that was known, and based on that history, whoever chose to vote for Ruto knew about that history.
That was a choice.
It was a choice. Like right now, even the people who are who are planning to vote for him in 2027 based on a kabarabara that's been built in their constituency, they know his history.
Correct.
They know he's alive. So it's a choice they're making.
Yeah.
It's a conscious choice they're making. It's kind of like that husband who's cheated on you multiple times and then is coming to tell you, oh, that was the last time. In fact, I am never ever gonna cheat again. In fact, here are opportunities for cheating, and guess what? I am not cheating, so accept me. But we leave that alone. And then she goes further and says, and before that, wasn't Uhuru's victory also driven in part by a wave of sympathy over the ICC cases and the feeling among many supporters that it was time to stand with him and push back against what they believed were targeting him. So
there's no correlation.
Yes.
At all.
What's the correlation here?
There isn't.
So okay, Uhuru and Ruto, you know, like had ICC cases. What cases does Sifuna have?
He doesn't have any.
He doesn't even have cases of stealing a matchbox or stealing chicken. He doesn't have any court cases. You know, like he doesn't have any of that black history that people are talking about. Then Ngugi further goes and says, look at how Uhuru's administration left this country. So what country did Sifuna left? What country did he have? You know, like Sifuna has been an ODM Secretary General. He's been a senator. So, again, maybe Ngugi can explain herself. And then she's asking, haven't we already seen where voting out of anger or emotion instead of demanding better leadership leaves this country? So where is the anger and where is the emotion when it comes to, okay, fine, there's anger against Ruto, but, you know, like...
I think what I gathered by that last, what you just read right now, is she's comparing something with nothing. Like you've not given somebody a chance yet, but you're already saying, oh, the track record of A, B, and C, you know, means like you could also do that without seeing like this person could actually do something different.
There's an all abovism argument that I even tried to bring it earlier. All Kenyans are tribalist. All Kenyans are corrupt. All politicians are this. And I think this group thinking has become so problematic that we want to compare someone with as clean a record as Sifuna to someone who has cases, you know. This guy has been a criminal since 1992. You know, like this guy, Ruto, alikuwa kwa gazeti. He was in the newspapers in 1990s. Kuiba pesa. You know, even people who were stealing kwa YK92, kina Jirongo were looking at him as a thief. Imagine mwizi anakuogopa. Imagine mtu ni mwizi.
I don't even know.
Anakuogopa kama mwizi. So I don't know, you know, like where this comparison is coming from. And then the worst part of what Ngugi said, you know, like the worstest part, I'm making that word up. If it's not an English word, let's put it in the dictionary. He's saying the next election cannot just be about who is most likely to defeat Ruto. It has to be about who has a clear plan to deal with corruption, protect the constitution, end abductions, and extrajudicial killings, blah, 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 blah. Having these big plans, these big manifestos, aren't these the things that...
They're always in those manifestos.
They're always there. You're asking us for someone who has a plan. Anyone can come up with a plan. Anyone.
She did an execution.
Yes.
She did an execution. Clear plan. People have
watch
plans.
Out execution.
Yeah.
If, for example, you know, like I'm recruiting... a surgeon, you know, like I need a surgery. You know, I'm looking to recruit a surgeon. And then you're coming and telling me your background. We know that you're a carpenter or you're a plumber or you know, like maybe in your free time you do stripping in a strip club. And then now you're coming to tell me you're coming with a plan of how you're going to do this. You're going to perform this surgery. And you're telling me that this plan is what I want. So now you're going with a carpenter to do your surgery because they presented to you a plan. That is what Ruto did. That is what Uhuru did. You know, like when they were promising, you know, like bullet trains and all these things. I don't know how many stadiums and all this blah, blah, blah. So to me, this was the weakest part of Ngugi's argument. And I hope, you know, like this was, you know, like some AI takeover of her, you know, like a social media page. So this is a very, very bad, a very terrible comparison that she made. I am very disappointed in Ngugi. I still love Ngugi and the content.
You can be disappointed by the comment, not by her, because she could have gotten it wrong.
This is not getting it wrong. This is there's there's getting it wrong.
You know what I'm saying?
Ali is not
Do
giving
you know-
any
getting
room.
it wrong.
He's not giving any room
For grace.
No, there's getting
No
it wrong.
grace.
That's why I'm hoping
Yeah.
this was some AI takeover, like of her page. Because there's getting it wrong where you maybe simply ask, like who's Sifuna ni nani?
but you
you went
see,
in and
yeah.
compared him with people who are murderers, people who have presided over grand theft.
Yeah.
Like we have so much in odious debt.
Yeah.
And you're comparing it to someone who is mweupe kama pamba.
Kid.
There's no there's nothing that people have on his background, because they would have pulled it by now.
Okay.
Ruto's bloggers would have pulled it by now.
I hear you. So can I remember when I said
Ngugi, I'm so disappointed in you.
I think I would say I'm disappointed with the comment you made. You maybe need to rework it, right? But let me say this. And remember when I said sometimes when you go to Kenya and you realize that you have a different point of view of looking at things, I think we are at an advantage because we've seen this before,
Yeah.
right? We've seen somebody who comes without all the track record somebody's supposed to have, goes ahead, wins, and becomes one of the best presidents we've ever had, right?
Yeah.
So we have that POV. Somebody who's not lived on the ground in the West might not have that POV. And so I think that is what she's missing in terms of it doesn't have to come qualified with a particular thing that you want him to. He has to come just with the willpower to do the things he's saying he will do.
Yeah. For me,
Yeah.
if she was saying this about Gachagua, that would be a very fair.
True.
Yes, it
True.
would be very fair.
Yeah.
Because Gachagua also has a trail of cases.
Yeah.
He has some issues. If she was saying this about Gachagua, that would be very fair.
I hear you.
But saying this about Sifuna,
yeah.
I feel like there's some malicious
But
intent.
don't assign malice before you know for sure there is malice there.
That's why
But,
I'm saying,
yeah.
the reason why I'm saying malicious intent based on what was said. Maybe
Yeah.
this is an AI takeover.
You've
This
decided
is-
it cannot be her. This has to
This
be
is
AI.
very Unlean Googie like.
Okay.
Because I'm saying with this because I'm a very big Lean Googie fan.
Okay.
So I think
Probably should write her and give her another point of view.
no, Lean Googie is a big probably hata ona message yangu nikimwandikia, but this
Ali,
right here.
you're big. The people who pass a message along.
By big, do you mean fat? I'm a big. Anyway, that's
Where that went left
Yeah.
in 2
No.
seconds.
no, but
He's your friend.
Yeah.
These are the friends you keep. You may want to watch your friend list.
I can't even respond to that. No. Ali has some big contacts. You
No.
know, starting with the man himself.
No, but Mimi, I'm not. I would not consider myself an influencer.
I did not say
Lean
you are. I
Googie-
just said
yeah.
you do have. Listen, some of these things to pass a message along, you just use your contacts.
Okay.
Say, hey, I think you need to rethink this one. This is why I think probably you got that wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
And
enough.
also extend grace. Sometimes we get things wrong. There's so many
clips
people
za
who got
VOA.
things wrong.
Tumia zile clips za VOA.
za VOA za
za ODM.
oh
Wakati unaongea for ODM ukiwa VOA. Lean Ngugi akiona zile atajua this is a big shot.
oh well.
No, it doesn't need to pretend.
No.
It's-
No, but now
I mean, he represented
but
Oh, really?
yes,
Ah.
but the thing with personalities like Lean Googie, they do have an influence on
Yeah, of course
on
they-
the
of
direction
course
that
she
people
does.
think.
But also,
And-
she's also, I think, I'm not defending her. I'm just saying there is, when something that is too good to be true comes along,
Yeah.
it's easy to
dismiss it.
To dismiss
Okay,
it.
okay,
How
fair
many
enough.
people dismiss Obama?
No, Obama was dismissed by so many.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I
Right?
may ask you, Ali,
Yeah.
is the issue the national point of view? Because
No.
I read that a couple of times, and I think there's a lot to take from that,
Yes.
and people to be at least to be careful moving forward. And I believe that's a good point also for Sifuna himself and anybody who's running,
Yes.
knowing that there are other people think of me this way.
No,
So
fair
I
enough.
took that in a very, very. I think I'm glad she put it out there.
Yeah.
Now people will be, touched by, maybe how they feel and everything.
Yeah.
But if you take all the emotion out of it, actually, I think that's very helpful for Sifuna himself moving forward. I think it just kind of builds him than hurt him. If you take just the point of view and just don't worry about the donation.
Fair enough. The thing with the donation is, if you're a fan of Lingugi, you will understand. And if you've been listening to Lingugi for a long time, you'll understand this doesn't sound like him. Ni kama mimi nimeingia social media na nimeanza kumsifu Kasongo. People who know me will they're gonna start being suspicious of, is this really, Ali who's saying this? Ama kuna mtu take over page yake au labda amelipwa,
or publishes opening. There's an opening to have a conversation with her.
Atakuja ku clear the
ilikwenda kusema kitu lakini acha ni nyamaza.
Okay, sawa. So before we go, there's quite a number of comments here. Let me read the comments first, and then I want you guys to think about, what possible formations we're gonna see for 2027. Because things are marinating and they're boiling, and it's over 1 year to the election.
Lakini Sifuna alipokuwa Citizen wakamuuliza kama ana run, akasema no.
He demurred on it, but then
alafu the same day or the next day alipokuwa yuko mbele amekwenda kuonana na Kalonzo. Aliposema kwamba is running, akasema yes. Kwa hiyo
lakini did he say no kwa interview ya Yvonne Okwara, or did he say that
he gave a long-winded
people who will
answer?
decide?
Yeah, lakini uwezo ukatoka pale, and then the next day akasema kwamba we know that Sifuna is running, akasema yes.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
When they had the press conference, he said he was running.
Unajua, wacha nikwambie, unajua kuna vitu mbili, right? There are two things.
Yeah.
Number one, pale kwa Yvonne angesema hivyo, angekuwa amedeclare.
Okay.
Right? Like angekuwa amesema end of flag bearer wa chama, na chama ijasikizana ijiongea fanya nini. Because that was an exclusive scoop moment, and the way Yvonne was asking for it, she was looking for that scoop. Right?
Yeah, he wasn't going to give it to her after that last
kwa ile nini mchana.
Yes.
Angesema mimi kusikia swali vizuri. Tulikuwa wengi.
No. Alipozungumza yule aliposema kwamba we know kwamba Sifuna runs, akasema yes.
Yeah, he said Sifuna is running for president.
Na yes, Sifuna akasema
he answered and said yes. Hapo.
Yeah.
But I think that was strategic as well.
Well,
yeah, but look at it this way.
Yeah.
Hapo ilikuwa kusema tuko si wote tunaongea sio si pia Kalonzo na for president.
Yes.
So wako hapo haja declare ni nani. Pale kwa Yvonne alikuwa anauza swali specific, like
Yvonne was trying to rush the passer.
Ilikuwa wewe presidential candidate Linda Mwananchi.
Yeah, Yvonne was trying to rush the quarterback.
Yeah, lakini nafikiri kulikuwa kuna better shorter way ya kujibu ile. Alivyokwenda long round, I was like, this is not.
No, the thing about Sifuna, like kama umesikiza.
Wacha nikwambie kitu moja, bandio shida ya Kenya ni.
Yeah, by the way.
Shida ya Kenya ni wanajua kumisquote mtu vizuri sana.
No, lakini bandio amesikiza interview mwenyewe.
Nasikiliza interview zote, unajua. Na naangalia hii not only from journalistic part of it, like kama political.
Wewe vile una interpret na nini na standard yako, hiyo sile standard ule jamaa mwenye ako pale newsroom amekaa hivi kwa computer na ngoja tu useme kitu andike headline. Kenya siku hizi habari ya Kenya ni kiki, si habari.
Yeah, but I feel like they all habari
kiki hata kwa Kiingereza utasemaje? It's the looking for viral clips. Looking for viral clips,
yeah. So, but I mean, I feel like hata pala angesema kama chama hatujaamua, because that's what he said in 2,500 words.
Can I tell you something?
Like
that is how Kenyans speak. That's how Kenyans speak when they're trying not to get boxed into an answer.
Actually, I don't think so. Because unamsikiza Sifuna maybe.
No, I'm not talking about Sifuna. I'm talking about one of my biggest frustrations is when you ask direct questions and you're given long-winded answers.
No.
And it's like those zinapitapo katikati is like being answered.
I think what you're not getting, all of you,
yeah.
Ni kwamba I'm talking about Sifuna. This is not about Kenya. Namzungumzia Sifuna kwenye debate za bungeni and I watch him a lot.
Yeah.
He kwangu mimi, it didn't feel like the real
Ule
Sifuna
jamaa
kwa
ni
sababu
lawyer.
yes, yeah, nafahamu, lakini nimemfuatilia sana, and I think katika hili kuna kitu he wanted to say, did he want to say, he just wanted to be vague as much as he could pale, na ile alifanya intentional.
Ndo nakwambia
Kwa sababu I follow him hata anapokuwa na debate kwenye parliament au kwenye senate.
Ile committee.
Yeah, anapokuwa kule.
Senate, yes.
The guy knows.
Nakubaliana na wewe, Sifuna hukuwa na very straight answers, right?
Yes.
The only times nimeona amekuwa na amedilidali ni ile siku nilimleta mbio na
Mika didn't like him that day.
Okay. Aya, sawa. Before tufunge.
So, but the thing is, I think,
Alienda kuuza
Bandio, the point here, as we said, the point hapa ni simple. It might look like maybe alikuwa na dilidali ama nini, but also in Kenya, especially when it comes to things like politics, kama hii, one misquotation can give the other side a lot of yardage on how watageuza kwa propaganda kukuchapa chini.
Ma bloggers especially wako ready. Yeah, wako ready kuipost. Hapa comments are coming in as we were speaking. Let me see. From Tony anasema, as Kenyans we have trust issues when it comes to politics. Lingugi should give Sifuna a chance. Nobody's 100% perfect. And then hapa we have Edag anasema, the ground is hot. ODM is an empty shell moving to political oblivion, Kanu style. Sifuna has run away with a huge chunk of Luo Nyanza. That's why government desperados are all over the place trying to counter. And then Ozi hapa anasema, anamwambia fire, all Coastarians know what Joho is. Baba Raila carried a lot of folks, including him. Folks forget Raila was the safe alternative. ODM is done and dusted. I like Sifuna though. And then Ozia anasema Gachagua, Kalonzo, Matiangi, Maraga, and any of the old guards versus Ruto wins lunchtime. And then hapa
Yes.
Bramwell Seredi anasema I agree. Ali, I think that's a thumbs up, ama sijui ni sign gani. And then Tony anasema eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. When Sifuna becomes president, we will need to hold him to account. And then Bramwell anasema manifesto of Kenyan politicians are vendor driven, e.g. SGR.
True.
And then Edag anasema, talking of Lingugi, tribal bigotry disguised as patriotism. Can she tell us why they voted in Uhuru twice? History regardless. Can she tell us who she would rather have us vote in? Njentone anasema, Lingugi is an idealist. She should recognize Sifuna is the most realistic person to beat Ruto. I don't know which angel is out there who can beat Kasongo. Surely even a blind man finds it hectic to find skeletons in Sifuna's closet. Does Lynn consider herself more powerful than Ruto, who has all instruments of NIS yet unable to pull out a file on Sifuna? And that right there is a point I'm bringing in.
Yes.
Bloggers would have been all over.
All on it.
If there was anything, they would have been all on it. And because people can't pick up, it's kind of like Obama. The wakaanza kutafuta picha when he was smoking, sijui, you know, like
they found weed and he said yes, it was me. Tuendele.
Yeah.
How did they kill Musikari Kombo's political career?
What did they do?
Walitoa nudes.
Oh, ilikuwa ni Musikari. No, it wasn't Musikari, ilikuwa ni anaitwaje huyu Mukisa Kitui.
Mukisa Kitui.
And the guy denied, alisema haikuwa yeye. He denied. Kipetero kiesi.
His was video, everything.
Yeah, he denied. He said it wasn't him.
That's the thing. It wasn't me.
Walitoa nudes na hivyo ndo nini isha.
Yeah, and they killed him. Ruth.
I think probably this could have been one of my parting shots, but I'll say it now. Having discussed this in detail, I will still say this. The opposition has to be united. We have to have a Kibaki Tosha moment again to get Ruto out.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, next year we'll be talking about Ruto is back in.
Yes,
If we do,
absolutely.
if there's no unity, like where they come together and say we have, like collectively we
Yeah.
can put our egos aside, we can whatever, and decide this is how we are moving forward.
Yeah.
And either the principal or the deputy,
Yeah.
one of them has to be a young person. It cannot be the old guard, because if it is, especially the principal, Ruto is coming right back in.
Now, I think, like I try to be very pragmatic in how I look at this, and I try to be very realistic. There were some narratives that were going around about Kalonzo Musyoka being lazy. And some of these narratives were created by the likes of Dennis Itumbi and all these other government spin masters. And unfortunately, they seeped their way into people who were in support of the united opposition, and it took, a life of its own. I know, like Mika has mentioned, a combination of Sifuna and Methu. I see things differently. And even in as much as I am very, attracted to a Sifuna presidency, here's my prediction that I'm making right now. And it's, it's just a prediction. It doesn't mean that there's something special. I know it's 100%. I have a strong feeling when the dust settles, and I know a lot of people do not want to hear this, including Sifuna supporters, myself included. I think the ticket that's gonna, come in when the dust finally settles is Kalonzo and Sifuna. And
which combination would that be? Would be Obama Biden, Biden Obama?
I think Kalonzo might be on top of the ticket. Okay. And you know why I say that? And I know Mika is ready to disagree with me.
No. Siko ready to disagree. Nakubaliana na wewe. Unajua nini? Honestly,
yes.
Honestly, my logic, my heart tells me that.
Okay. And why is that? Let me hear from your perspective. I'll tell you why I'm saying that.
And why is that? Because Kalonzo just has experience and older statesman than any, is in terms of as much as kuna demographic ya watu wadogo na nini, kuna demographic moja kubwa sana ya voters who are older people.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Baby boomers.
Absolutely.
And Gen Xers.
And
Kalonzo, for him.
Kalonzo was
Kalonzo is more appealing to them. So
Kalonzo was Baba's running mate twice. In as much as people are calling him lazy, he was Baba's running mate twice very faithfully, and the third time, when he wasn't the running mate in 2022, he gave way to Martha Karua, but still, supported Baba. So he supported Baba 3 consecutive times, and he's always pulled his weight in those 3 elections. So I know kuna hii excitement here. We are seeing, Sifuna can do so many rallies in a day and pull big crowds. But let's not forget that Kalonzo has always pulled his weight.
But Ali, that was me speaking my heart.
Yeah.
But my mind.
Yeah. and the reason why I think
that's why you go to a therapist.
Yeah.
But my mind is telling me, dude, let me tell you something. Today I was on a call. I'll be real quick. Today I was on a call. Right? I'll call him my cousin, kijana wa Ocha. Yuko Ushago Busia. Anakuanga na bike. Alinipigia simu. Alinicall na WhatsApp akaniambia niaje nikamwambia call back. I called him back, right? So kumcall back tukapiga siasa, tukapiga tu story. Tukafika kwa place ya boda ka bike zao. Yaani nilikuwa nasikia siasa inapigwa hapo, akaniambia acha nikwambie kitu. Unajua hapa kwa hii stand yetu vile tumesikizana. Kila customer 3 ukimpatia bila lipo na mpea bili ya Sifuna.
Oh damn. Okay. That is interesting.
Oh yeah, that's they also hanging them. They're also hanging them to Nini. Yeah.
Like every bill ukipea customer na mpea bili ya Sifuna. Right? So nikamuuliza na je Sifuna akaniambia sikiza, sisi tunataka mtu mwenye anaongea lugha yenye tunasikia. Unajua nini, tumepromisiwa vitu mingi lakini tumesoma katiba, tunajua katiba. Unajua niambia nini, Mika, si wote tumesoma. Hatuko hapa juu ni wajinga ndio tukwenda shule. Tuko hapa juu hakuna
kazi
option nyingine. Katoka hapo akaenda kwa bezi ya Busa. Nilikuwa nasikia siasa inapigwa hapo ndani ya Ali. Nikajiambia disconnect, hata mimi nilikuwa disconnected kiasi. Hapo nikacalculate hii disconnect yangu, nikijiambia mimi disconnect yangu akili yangu kiniambia sasa na kwamba the best count of Kasongo ni nani? Kalonzo. Based on how I've seen politics, I've studied politics, have everything I know through politics, nakwambia ni Kalonzo.
You know,
but with every interaction that I'm making with people back home, right? Na different people, different classes of people, right? Hata pako waso middle class. Ile connection wako nayo na hii kitu ya Sifuna. Then the young people, wale unajua ile jenzi tulisema ile jenzi tulikuwa tunasema imepotea. Like lost. Wamepata mtu wa kuresonate naye sahi.
Now, you know why you know
to me logically, if I use my logical engineering mind na nipige hesabu ya probabilities, kuna scenarios mingi sana zenye naona hapa kwa hii elections. This is the one election where I can say confidently hata opposition siwezi predict nani watachagua, na when the dust settle, this is one election I don't think anybody can comfortably say they can predict a winner.
Fair enough, but the reason why, you know, like there's some combinations being suggested. Another combination that has also come up is Sifuna Wanjigi, you know, like and I don't know, but it's been suggested, it's been thrown out there. You know, and then kuna hiyo ya Medhu, but the reason why I personally like the Kalonzo Sifuna, you know, like combination, out of the big 5 groups in Kenya, these two, where Sifuna comes from, Luya and Kalonzo Kamba, are the two where there is no antagonism, you know, like, and I'm saying this in a very kind way, you know, like politically, you know, like people will make fun of Wakamba, you know, nyimna votia mtu ajawaletea maji na nini, but nobody is really, you know, like antagonistic at Kambas. When you look at Waluya always accused of dividing their vote, you know, like and they're being accused of not being accused on ambeti wao ni mawochi na nini, but nobody is really angry at them. But the top three groups, there's always a lot of antagonism of whoever is running, you know, like the Luo, the Kikuyu, the Kalenjin. Whoever is running, whether it's Raila, there's always a force of aggression, you know, like against them. So if we're looking to recreate a 2002 moment, remember in 2002, we had Kibaki, a very boring guy. And Kenya at this point, I think we need a boring president. Hii mambo ya kuwa na exciting presidents who can tukana people in political rallies and
sound kama commercials za PNC.
So I think we do need a boring president, because Kalonzo he's a fairly boring guy, you know, like by political standards, but maybe that's what, you know, like Kenya at the moment needs. And I think your combination ya Kalonzo na Sifuna will not only transition us out completely, because I think Ruto is the last of a kind. We are never ever gonna have a president like Ruto. He was the last remnant. He was the last tool that was built during the Nyayo era.
All right.
Yeah, and I don't think we're ever gonna have a president like him again. So if we transition out, remember, if let's say Kalonzo takes 10 years and Sifuna takes another 10, we have a whole 20 years of pure development, and by that time tunaweza kuwa tumerudi home, and then we are happy, you know, like we're not even thinking about coming back here, and we live happily ever after. Bandio.
Swali.
Yes.
Kwa nini uchaguzi wa 2013 was in March na sasa hivi inakuwa October?
because uchaguzi wa 2013 it was
August.
under the transition of
No, 2013 was in March.
yes, it was in March. It was in March. It wasn't in August.
March 4th.
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
it was in
Talk
March,
about-
and it
talk
wasn't in
about 2013.
2012. It was in 2013. It was a
Yes.
transition
From the old
from the old constitution to the new.
Yeah.
Under the old constitution, ni rais ndo alikuwa anaamua tarehe ya kupiga kura, but in the new constitution a specific date was chosen. In fact, they even went to court na ndo hiyo wakakubali hiyo date ya March, but everything else after that went by the constitution,
Which says August.
which August, the second Tuesday after,
Really,
after
You guys has been Americanized.
yes.
It's not even
Kura
funny.
ilikuwa
Yeah,
inafaa
the
kwa
second
2012.
Tuesday.
Wait, is it the second Tuesday or is Tuesday after the first?
no, it's the second Tuesday in August.
That's how it's termed.
Yeah, so I don't know whether it's a Tuesday after.
Because is that the second Tuesday or is Tuesday after? Okay,
Kuna
tafuta
AI.
katiba.
No,
Because I know-
wait,
I
is
mean-
it Tuesday or Thursday?
Be-
Wait, ni Tuesday.
No, it's a Tuesday.
Yeah,
It's a
but I'm
Tuesday,
trying
yeah.
to find the wording kwa sababu mmechukua vitu vingi sana kutoka kwenye Marekani na that's what it
Correct.
says even here.
Tuesday.
Correct.
Haisemi kwamba second Tuesday. I think inasema Tuesday after first Monday of November. And I was wondering if that's the same.
Wait, Tuesday after first Monday of November.
Yeah, kwa Marekani.
Oh, yeah, kwa Marekani.
Yeah, America ni after the first Monday. That's why it becomes the
Yeah.
second Tuesday.
So
of
if
November.
Tuesday is November 1st, otherwise it has to be from the 8th
Oh, okay.
to.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah.
So that's why I was wondering kama na nyinyi
I don't think they went that specific.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't think
Yeah.
they went
Ngoja
that specific.
Ruth yuko ni data
lakini
analyst.
ali
Yeah.
si kura ilichelewa 2013 ilikuwa inafaa kwa 2012,
Ilikuwa inafaa kwa
si ndio?
2012. Yeah, ilicheleweshwa. In fact, those who went to
There
parliament
was
hawakumaliza
court
complete
cases,
5
There was
years.
all sorts of yes.
Yeah.
they were
So
out
you know
early.
the reason I was not defending Anne or sawa so to make na kuja hapa he posted 2013 and if you look it was the same thing 2013 kwamba mtachagua kwa utashi ama uhitaji and leading nilipokuwa ninasoma whatever Anne Ngugi ameandika it's almost the same kwamba mtakwenda na zile ahadi that's the same thing ambayo nazungumzia hapa is it still bado kuhusu plan kuhusu nini to me what I get from that post ni kwamba we have to brainstorm tuweke feelings aside let's test these people let them know kwamba it's not about you come here and promise to get Ruto out and then we forget about it after that we will hold you accountable put vitu ambavyo vinafanyika that's my take kulingana na kile ambacho nilikiona pale but hii story itaendelea toleo lijalo nafikiri wahenga walisema
Kilicho na
kilicho na
mwanzo.
hakikosi kuwa na mwisho meli imetia nanga tunaanza na nani ni Ruth Mika
Umenifukuza.
Ataki kuenda.
Mika alikuwa karibu kutake off. Alikuwa ameanza tu.
too late
Bana. I want to say thank you Ruth for joining us today. Karibuni kila mtu. Ngojeni kwanza. Hii simu ingine hapa inapiga ingine.
Ni Sifuna ndo amepiga.
Sisi ni Sifuna. Anyway, I want to say it's been a nice conversation, right? And whatever happens, whatever comes out, agenda ni moja. Ruto must go.
Tam ni moja.
mwambie Sheila manake alituandikia
Simple, hakuna sijui nini. Atuweza sema hiyo Simbo, hakuna sijui nini. Ruto aitie. Ruto akishaisha atajipanga. Hiyo ndo agenda. But all in all, back to school inakaribia.
aya
I hope unajipanga. Everybody is good. And just tell people, life ni ngumu kuinje. Say hi to your friends. Wajulie hali. Tell them everything is gonna be okay. As in, at the end of the day, maisha ni moja na si wote tuna experience for the first time. So let's be easy on ourselves. Let's be easy on each other. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your weekends. Until next Friday. Kwaherini.
most fire
Asante sana Bwana Mikasi, wachangiaji wetu, watazamaji, mafans, au kina wanakiki. We here. New sema we outside. Okay, to go inside. Thanks once again for to our listeners for coming through, for being here with us, and more so to Ruth for gracing us with her presence, making time for us. I know it's not easy, you know, heparing the comforts of chillaxing with what is it, Afro cinema at this point. So yes, tunakujua. So with that said, see you guys next week. Enjoy your weekend. The weather is kind of sometimes hot, sometimes cold. It's, I don't know, just enjoy while it's here to be enjoyed. And a big shout out to OneMic. Poleni sana. Today was a tough day for the family. But mujue tuko pamoja na nyinyi. And with that said, I will leave it at that, and back to you guys at studio.
All right. Asante sana DJ Omosh Fire. A couple of comments here that came in towards the end. Ozzy anasema, on the bright side, Kenya tumepiga kona. Ruto will be the last president of his kind. We are moving away from the tribal lines. And then Edag anasema, Sifuna's presidency will be a lethal card against Ruto on multiple fronts. Sorts out voter apathy for the youth and middle class, pulls the Western vote in one basket, destroys Ruto's tribal card and integrity. So yeah, so that's Edagapo. And then I see also Waithira Kathy was tuned in on Facebook. Waithira anasema, charisma, charm and likability matters. Kalonzo is an old G most voters don't relate to. And then Waithira father says, Kalonzo Sifuna presidency will be a first of its kind. Looking at previous Kenya's presidential winners, it'll be good for Kenya. A mix of old guard and new blood. So yeah, so that's a thing. Now, the one thing, you know, like I want to say, you know, like about Ruto, and I'm talking to, you know, like my, you know, like my people who have been on the same team with for over 20 years from Luo Nyanza. You know, like, and I say this with a lot of empathy, because I understand people on that side of the country since 1992 for over 30 years, they've been voting for Kenya, and they've never had a chance to vote for the president based on local issues. We understand that. We appreciate that. But I also want you to understand one thing. Someone who has been doing abortions cannot come and tell you that he's going to start taking care of fetuses starting next week. So I want you guys to bear that in mind. And I know that's a very extreme example. Yes, I know it's a very extreme example, but it's also, I'm using an extreme example because this is very serious.
He wants extreme results.
Ruto,
my vote is not changing.
Ruto was talking about the opposition being an existential threat to Kenya. He is the existential threat to Kenya. So yes, so Uhuru got us to a bad place where we got to spending for every 100 shillings that of revenue Kenya was making, 65 was going towards paying debt. So now we are at almost, I believe, 75. And some experts are saying we could easily get to 80 or even more by next year, meaning we no longer have money. So he said he had promised that he was going to clear off the debt. But when you look at his spending patterns, because spending is where you start taming debt, he's been spending more than Uhuru was spending. His budgets are much bigger. So he's not going to solve the Kenyan problem. This is a guy who told us he hates this new constitution. He campaigned against it. And then we are now believing him that he's going to come and implement it. And he's already shown us that he doesn't like the constitution. He has killed. He has maimed. He has gotten us to a place where we no longer even wanted to follow Kenyan politics because of what was happening. Please, my brothers and sisters in Luo Nyanza, naomba, do not listen to this guy, because he will entice you like he did with all the people he enticed, and then nyinyi ndo mtabaki mkilia. Not only mtaanza kulia, but you will also not have a political party. He's already decimated ODM, and the remaining part of it will be completely destroyed. And you won't have a party. ODM is going to end up being, you see where Ford Kenya is? Remember how big Ford Kenya was when Jaramogi was alive? That is where ODM is going to be, like after the 2027 elections. So you'll have no political vehicle. You will have, like the guy who made promises to you will abandon you like he does, and there will be nothing more to fight for. I can understand the barabaras here and there. I can get it. But I think people need to look at the long game and not to take sides, but this is very, very important for Kenya. Na kwa hayo machache, Sifuna, kama unataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu ni 1-800 mteule. Na operator akishika, mwambie unasema na mjukuu. Na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, kumbushe ni mjukuu yule wa Masai. Because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Sifuna by choice.
Allah.
Sichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Ruth. Fire shot.
She's been defeated. She didn't even know that she's coming.
Yeah, she was
I
going
was
to
like, I was looking at you, I'm like, okay, number one.
Yeah.
Sifuna by choice.
By
you
choice.
know
By choice.
Ati?
Alipanga hiyo siku ngapi?
Hiyo imepangika tu saizi na ikajipanga.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
Na ikajipanga.
Yeah, sisi ni Sifuna, at least maybe ni Sifuna. I want the boldness to take Kenya forward. This, again, I thank you for having me. I think when I said in the group that I'm back, Ali was like, unakuja studio. And I'm glad we were able to get a date. I'm here for 2 more weeks, and then I will be gone for at least 6 months. Yeah, but I do when I can, I do watch the show. There's a time I actually was also commenting, but like the 3 a.m. To 5 a.m. is really tough. But I value the conversations that we have. I value that the depth that we go into making sure that we have important conversations that are affecting us. But the fact that we're able to kind of, step back and look at things from, are we missing something? Is it that we don't get it? Is that angle is very important. And I think for me, I was able to realize that I'm super disconnected with the day-to-day Kenyans, and so may not fully understand what is happening. But where I can, I will participate. And as I said, if there's one thing I've promised myself is wherever I am, I'm voting, because I feel like, my vote is my voice. Now I can start telling people, what is and what is not. And I hope that for everyone as well. I look forward to seeing you guys in the new year. I know it's too early to say that. But thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for participating. And kija nyumbani December. Eat me up. I might know some new places to go then.
Okay. Or you might pay some Ubers around for us.
That too, with my discounts.
Mimi nakuja unipikie ugali. Naomba kujifundisha.
The good thing with Kenya, the good thing with Kenya is ugali utapata imepikwa. Does it mean mimi nimepika?
Wacha nikipata moda chakula nitairusha huko kwa
it will not be ordered. Itapikwa kwa nyumba. It doesn't have
ipikwe na mboch.
Itapikwa kwa nyumba.
Ipikwe na mboch.
Hapana, anza lesson.
Shida ni ukule.
Hapana,
kuna rice cooker na ugali cooker.
6 months ni enough for you.
Do you know I don't cook ugali?
6 months ni enough for you.
I don't rarely eat ugali.
Or you don't do ugali?
Rarely eat ugali. Okay. No, I do eat ugali, but rarely.
Okay.
Also, kumbuka nikiwaambia nani mbona mnakula ugali usiku?
Aye.
That was me. Why? Amwende kulima.
By the way, that
Amwende
question.
kulima.
Ati mbona unakula ugali
Yeah.
usiku?
Amwende kulima.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for spending time with us. Until next time, Uno, Pole, Uno, we'll see you soon. All right. Bye-bye.